I collect attributes in the apocalypse. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: The Last 6 Hours. Bitch. You're colluding with others behind my back. Even if I become a zombie, I won't let you go, Lin Fan yelled, his eyes opened quickly, but the anger in his eyes was soon replaced by confusion. Wasn't he betrayed by Zhou Xiao and Ji Liangchen, and unfortunately died in the mouth of zombies? He tilted his head to look outside. The sky outside the window was still blue and white. There was no blood, no ruins, no zombies, and everything was normal. Reborn. After a while, Lin Fan realized that this was the hospital where he was admitted after accidentally falling in his previous life. When the doomsday broke out in his previous life, he and Zhou Xiao became lovers while fleeing, and Ji Liangchen followed them as a male bestie. At first, he didn't think so much, until that day, he went out to find food and came back, and found Zhou Xiao and Ji Liangchen doing unspeakable sports in bed. This pair of dogs and men were caught in bed by him, but they stabbed him when he was not paying attention, and pushed him out of the room, leaving him to be bitten by zombies. What a bullshit male bestie, it's all a fucking cover, Lin Fan cursed, and couldn't help clenching his fist. Huh? The moment he clenched his fist, Lin Fan found something on his finger. He looked down and saw that it was a ring. This ring actually followed me back, Lin Fan was shocked. The ring was obtained in his previous life. It can read data from people, zombies, animals, etc., and extract attributes that are helpful to him. Moreover, the ring can be upgraded. After it is upgraded to a certain level, it can also control zombies. It's a pity that he was killed by Zhou Xiao and Ji Liangchen not long after he got it. Are you awake? Suddenly, the door opened and a nurse sister walked in. Seeing Lin Fan sitting on the bed, the nurse sister's eyes were full of surprise. She didn't expect Lin Fan to wake up so quickly. Wait a minute, I'll call the doctor, the nurse sister said again, turned around and walked out of the room. Lin Fan came back to his senses and picked up the mobile phone on the cabinet next to him and looked at it. February 6, 2020, 8 o'clock in the morning. There are still 6 hours before the doomsday outbreak. Lin Fan knew very well that at 2 p.m., the doomsday would come completely. At that time, an energy storm from the solar system would descend on the Earth, producing a supervirus called W. This W virus would sweep the world at a terrifying speed, causing people to become zombies that can only be seen in movies. Only 6 hours, Lin Fan frowned, and without time to think about it, he picked up his phone and dialed a number. Xiao, I have something very serious to tell you now, Lin Fan said quickly. Brother, what's wrong? A nice female voice came. The girl was Lin Fan's sister, Lin Xiao, who was studying in another city. Listen to me, a very terrible virus will appear soon, which will sweep the whole world, and it will be more terrifying than SARS that year. You have 6 hours to go to the hotel outside your school to get a room and prepare as much food and water as possible, then lock the door and stay in the room. No matter what noise you hear outside, don't open the door, and wait for me to come to you, Lin Fan said at the fastest speed. Brother, what's the matter? What virus are you talking about? Lin Xiao was completely surprised. It's too late to explain to you. Do you want to listen to me? Lin Fan said in a serious tone. Listen, Lin Xiao answered quickly. Okay, then do what I just said. Remember, you must wait for me to find you. After that, Lin Fan hung up the phone. He had to tell Lin Xiao in advance. Because when the energy storm arrives, the signals on the Earth will be completely interrupted and all communication systems will be paralyzed. He and Lin Xiao grew up in an orphanage since childhood. Although they are not siblings, their relationship is better than that of many siblings. After the doomsday in his previous life, he also went to the city where Lin Xiao was to look for Lin Xiao, but he didn't find Lin Xiao. He didn't dare to imagine what happened. Time was running out. Lin Fan didn't delay any longer, took off his hospital gown, changed into his own clothes and pants, opened the door and walked out. There were less than 6 hours before the doomsday, and he had to be prepared. Walking out of the hospital, everything was normal outside, and no one knew that a doomsday disaster was about to come. Lin Fan would not inform them that the doomsday was coming, otherwise others would only regard him as a complete lunatic. However, before that, he had to contact someone. In the previous life, Although the number of zombies was huge and extremely fierce, some strong people also appeared among humans. These strong people, called evolvers, have power that ordinary people can hardly imagine. They can deal with hundreds of zombies alone, punch through walls, and run faster than world champions. Evolvers are divided into innate evolvers and acquired evolvers. Innate evolvers are people who carry a mutagenic factor. This mutagenic factor can promote the evolution of the human body and become stronger and stronger. Acquired evolvers can also become evolvers by extracting mutagenic factors from animals and integrating them into their bodies. Lin Fan does not have mutagenic factors in his body. To become an evolver, he can only rely on extracting mutagenic factors from animals and integrating them into himself. Although it is difficult to judge animals with mutagenic factors in their bodies at the beginning, he does not have to worry about this problem. The ring on his hand can completely help him judge which animal contains mutagenic factors. Lin Fan took out his mobile phone and dialed a number again. Hey, Jianwei, where are you now? Fuck. Xiaofan, didn't you fall unconscious? I was planning to go to the hospital to see you this afternoon. I'm awake now. Where are you? I'll come to you right away. I have something important to tell you. I'm at the zoo. Can you make it? If not, I'll come to you after I'm done with my work. Lin Fan ignored Wang Jianwei's last words. After hanging up the phone, he stopped a taxi on the roadside and got in. Wang Jianwei was his college classmate, and his family ran a zoo. He wanted to extract mutagenic factors from animals. The first problem he had to face was that the animals in the zoo were locked up. He couldn't forcefully pry open the door and get in. That would cause unnecessary trouble and he might even be taken away by the police. But with Wang Jianwei, it was different. With Wang Jianwei's identity, it was not difficult for him to get close to the animals. Of course, Lin Fan didn't go directly to the zoo, but got off the car on the way. In addition to extracting mutagenic factors, he had to prepare some necessary things. This is it. Lin Fan looked up at a military goods store in front of him with a smile on his face. He had passed by this military goods store many times and knew that the items in it were very complete. Soon, backpacks, watches, daggers, axes, combat boots, field combat uniforms and other things were all collected by Lin Fan. Although these things were not cheap at all, the end of the world was approaching, and he didn't care how much money was left in his pocket. There is a rather ironic saying that in the end of the world, the least valuable thing is money. Because money has no use in the end of the world, it is not as meaningful as a piece of bread. After putting the things in his backpack, Lin Fan walked out of the military goods store and went to the supermarket next door to buy some food needed at the beginning of the end of the world. Finally, he also went to the pharmacy and bought syringes and needles on the grounds that he had diabetes and had to inject insulin by himself, otherwise it would not be so convenient to extract mutagenic factors from animals. Of course, the price of this reason was that the aunt in the pharmacy watched him walk out of the door and secretly called her child on her mobile phone, asking her to pay attention to her health, otherwise she might get diabetes at a young age. Lin Fan didn't care about what the ward aunt thought. He walked out of the pharmacy, prepared everything he needed, hailed a taxi again, and headed straight for the zoo. Chapter 2. Remember what I said. The zoo managed by Wang Jianwei's family is the largest in Jiangnan City. He believes that he can use the ring to find animals with mutagenic factors. Originally, Lin Fan had 2 other roommates, but those 2 often insulted him openly or secretly because they saw that he was poor. Only Wang Jianwei had the best relationship with him. Therefore, when the doomsday came, Lin Fan only planned to help Wang Jianwei. The taxi stopped outside the zoo. Lin Fan called Wang Jianwei, and Wang Jianwei asked a zoo staff to take him there. Today is Saturday, and there are many people visiting the zoo. Originally, Lin Fan was going to read the data with the ring while walking, but the staff took him in a sightseeing car and soon came to Wang Jianwei. Next to Wang Jianwei, there was a man and a woman. The man was Zhou Jun, 25 or 26 years old, dressed in a suit and tie, and wearing a famous brand watch worth more than 100,000 yuan. The woman was Liu Yun, about 20 years old, with fair skin and a tall figure. The hem of her red miniskirt just reached the root of her thighs, revealing her slender legs. Xiaofan, this way. Wang Jianwei saw Lin Fan and waved and called out. Lin Fan walked over, and before he could speak, he heard Liu Yun chuckle. Hey, isn't this Lin Fan, baby? Is he your friend? Zhou Jun put his arm around Liu Yun's waist and asked casually. Of course not, Liu Yun shook her head, her tone full of ridicule. Lin Fan is a well-known top student in our school, how could he be my friend? Then, she whispered a few more words into Zhou Jun's ear. Zhou Jun couldn't help but smile after hearing this. Lin Fan didn't expect to meet Liu Yun here. When he just entered college, he had just begun to fall in love and had a good impression of Liu Yun, but he never confessed his feelings. As a result, this matter was somehow spread by someone, saying that he wanted to pursue Liu Yun and confess his feelings in public. When Liu Yun heard this, she was so angry. If she was liked by a rich second generation, she would of course be very happy. But being liked by a poor boy like Lin Fan who had no money and no power, she felt it was a shame for her. So, she found Lin Fan at that time, and said in front of many people that Lin Fan was a toad and would never be able to eat swan meat in his life. Lin Fan did not refute, but worked hard to study and always received scholarships from the school. He was indeed a famous top student. It was a pity that the end came, otherwise he would have a good future after graduation. Facing Liu Yun's ridicule, Lin Fan still didn't care. He had more important things to do now. However, Zhou Jun raised his watch and looked at Lin Fan with disdain and said, "Brother, sometimes, studying hard may not be useful. When you graduate, come to me. For the sake of your classmates, I can consider arranging a job for you in my company. It's not too late to say these things when you can live to that day," Lin Fan responded. "What did you say?" Zhou Jun's face suddenly sank. He was born with a golden key. Who around him didn't flatter him? I didn't expect that Lin Fan, a poor boy, would dare to talk to him like this. "Brother Zhou, don't be angry. We are all friends." Lin Fan was just joking. Seeing Zhou Jun was about to get angry, Wang Jianwei quickly tried to smooth things over. "Well, Xianfan, don't you have something important to tell me?" After that, Wang Jianwei pulled Lin Fan to the side to avoid any direct conflict between Lin Fan and Zhou Jun. Zhou Jun is the young master of the Marriott Group, and the Marriott Group is very famous in Jiangnan City. The Wang family's background cannot compare with the Marriott Group, and Wang Jianwei cannot bump into Zhou Jun. You know, Zhou Jun just came here to take a look today, and his father called him and asked him to come and take Zhou Jun around in person, which shows how much faith the Marriott Group has. Lin Fan was too lazy to care, looking at Wang Jianwei and said, "This matter is indeed very important, and I must ask you for help." "What is it?" "You tell me, we are friends, as long as I can do it, I will definitely help you," Wang Jianwei said very happily. "At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the end of the world will come, and many humans will become zombies," Lin Fan said with a serious face. "What? Doomsday zombies appear?" Before Lin Fan could finish, Wang Jianwei shouted in surprise. He subconsciously reached out to touch Lin Fan's forehead to see if Lin Fan had a high fever. Lin Fan was speechless. He didn't expect Wang Jianwei to react so strongly. He almost jumped up. In fact, it was not Wang Jianwei's fault for having such a big reaction. The main reason was that this kind of thing sounded so far-fetched. In addition, Lin Fan had just come out of the hospital, so he naturally thought that Lin Fan was confused. Zhou Jun was a little angry at first, but when he heard Wang Jianwei say that loudly, he lost his temper instantly and laughed. "Turns out you're an idiot with a brain problem, and a doomsday zombie. I think you'd better go back to the mental hospital." Liu Yun looked at Lin Fan with sarcasm and contempt, and smiled with her hands covering her mouth. "You've really read too much and become stupid. I've never seen such a funny person." Wang Jianwei coughed awkwardly, pulled Lin Fan a few steps to the side, and said, "Xianfan, are you really okay?" "I know what I'm saying." Lin Fan's expression froze. It was indeed not that easy to make Wang Jianwei believe such a thing. He handed the watch to Wang Jianwei and said, "It is now 12 o'clock noon. In another hour, the sky will fall into darkness, that is, the sun will disappear from sight. It is not blocked by clouds, but it will really disappear. However, this disappearance will not last too long, about 1 minute. Although human scientists will notice it, they have no ability to prevent this doomsday disaster. Remember the time and phenomenon I said. When you see it with your own eyes and believe it, contact me immediately. I'll wait for your call." After saying this quickly, Lin Fan did not delay any longer and turned to leave. He wanted to use this time to find animals with mutagenic factors in the zoo. In this way, when Wang Jianwei saw the phenomenon he said, he would definitely come to meet him. At that time, He only needed to use Wang Jianwei's identity to enter the place where the animals were imprisoned and take action when he saw the opportunity. Seeing that Lin Fan left so decisively, Wang Jianwei could not stop him even if he shouted, so he had to shake his head helplessly, turned around and walked back to Zhou Jun and Liu Yun. After taking Zhou Jun and Liu Yun on a tour, he would go to see what Lin Fan was like. Jianwei, you'd better have less contact with idiots like this, or you'll have problems with your IQ, Zhou Jun said with a sneer on his face. That's right, Wang Jianwei, it's easy to get into trouble if you get along with idiots, so be careful, Liu Yun fanned the flames. Wang Jianwei was naturally very upset about the two people's behavior of insulting Lin Fan, but he had no choice. He couldn't offend Zhou Jun, the big Buddha, right now, so he could only change the subject quickly and continue to take Zhou Jun and Liu Yun to the east of the zoo. Chapter 3 Reading Data. At this time, Lin Fan had come to a cage where African lions were locked up. There were 5 African lions in total. Looking at the majestic and powerful bodies of African lions, to be honest, Lin Fan did not want a mutagenic factor to exist in their bodies. That would mean that he would have to fight against the African lions to successfully obtain it. However, if the mutagenic factor was really in the African lions, he would have no other choice. He looked down at the ring on his hand, then looked at one of the African lions, and a thought flashed through his mind. Then, an illusory light curtain of information appeared in front of him. Species, African lion strength. 3 speed. 3 reaction. 3 mutation, no mutagenic factor, none. The light curtain information could not be seen by the visitors around, only Lin Fan could see it clearly. It seems that my luck is not that good. Lin Fan was not disappointed, but just sighed in his heart and turned his attention to the next African lion. As a person who was familiar with various novels in his previous life, Lin Fan knew that this ring was not a so-called system. At least, for now, the only function of the ring is to read various data, and it cannot communicate with him. After a while, he finished testing all 5 African lions and confirmed that they did not carry mutagenic factors. Lin Fan quickly came to the iron cage where the Siberian tiger was locked up and continued to test the Siberian tiger with the ring. Species, Siberian tiger strength. 3 speed. 3 reaction. 3 mutation, no mutagenic factor, none. The ring quickly gave some data about the Siberian tiger. Of course, these data are determined according to specific circumstances. For example, the data of adults and young ones must be different. Neither African lions nor Siberian tigers have encountered the existence of mutagenic factors. Lin Fan quickened his pace and continued to search in the zoo. Black bears, brown bears, wolves, black panthers, hippos, zebras, giraffes, camels, kangaroos. In a blink of an eye, Lin Fan was about to visit the zoo. In such a large zoo, if we can't find animals with mutagenic factors, we will be in trouble. Lin Fan's face became solemn. There were many people walking around the zoo, and many people would become zombies. In addition, the animals would also mutate, and the iron cage might not be able to lock them. Without the mutagenic factor to promote the evolution of the body, it is indeed very dangerous to be in such an environment. Chimpanzee. Lin Fan glanced and saw a signpost not far ahead, indicating that there was a chimpanzee at that location. Regaining hope, he walked quickly to the outside of the chimpanzee cage. There were 7 or 8 chimpanzees in the cage, each of them was majestic and looked very intimidating. Lin Fan did not hesitate and immediately used the ring to read the data of one of the chimpanzees. Species, chimpanzee strength. 2 speed. 4 reaction. 4 whether it is mutated, no mutagenic factor, no obviously, there is no mutagenic factor in this chimpanzee. Lin Fan shifted his sight and tested one after another. When he tested the last one, he was about to give up all hope. Species, chimpanzee strength. 3 speed. 4 reaction. 4 whether it is mutated, no mutagenic factor, yes. When the data of this chimpanzee was read out and displayed in front of Lin Fan, he trembled uncontrollably. There is a mutagenic factor. This means that he can start with this chimpanzee. However, at this moment, a huge storm suddenly blew up in the sky. When the storm swept across the sky, the sunlight that was shining on the world disappeared. People looked up hurriedly, but they couldn't even see the sun. What's going on? Where is the sun? Why did the sun disappear? Oh my God. What happened? Where did the sun go? The changes in the sky undoubtedly caused panic among the people. They never thought that the sun that appeared every day would disappear inexplicably. On the other side, Wang Jianwei, who was taking Zhou Jun and Liu Yun to visit the zoo, was almost petrified on the spot when he saw this scene. He stared at the sky with wide eyes, and no matter from which angle he looked, he could not see the shadow of the sun. Really? It's really gone. Wang Jianwei swallowed hard. Beside him, Zhou Jun and Liu Yun were panicked and confused, especially Liu Yun, who leaned completely on Zhou Jun. The two peaks felt like they were about to be crushed. The sun disappeared for a minute, and darkness no longer enveloped the world, and the sun shone on the earth again. Although it caused quite a panic just now, modern people seemed to recover quickly. Some people even took out their mobile phones to see how netizens discussed this incident, while others followed a news channel, waiting for scientists to give a reasonable explanation. Only Wang Jianwei stared at the time on his mobile phone, trembling all over. The words that Lin Fan said to him before were like the sound of a huge bell echoing back and forth in his mind. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun disappeared. 1 minute. These were all predicted by Lin Fan in advance, and every one of them was predicted. He now believed 100% that Lin Fan did not have a high fever and was not joking. Then, the end of the world is likely to come. Thinking of this, Wang Jianwei took a deep breath and quickly called Lin Fan. When the call was connected, Wang Jianwei quickly said, "Hello. Xiaofan. Where are you? Do you believe what I said?" Lin Fan asked. Believe? Believe, Wang Jianwei nodded without hesitation. "I'm here in the zoo where the chimpanzees are imprisoned," Lin Fan said. "Okay. I'll come find you right away." Wang Jianwei hung up the phone, and without even looking at Zhou Jun and Liu Yun, he ran towards Lin Fan. "Brother Jun, what's going on? Could what that idiot Lin Fan said be true?" Liu Yun was panicking, especially since she saw Wang Jianwei's reaction and could clearly see some clues. Zhou Jun was also a little panicked at this time, mainly because the disappearance of the sun just now had a great impact on him. No matter whether what he said is true or not, let's catch up with him first. Zhou Jun made a decision quickly and pulled Liu Yun to chase Wang Jianwei. Outside the iron cage, Lin Fan looked at the road leading to the side. About 10 minutes later, he saw Wang Jianwei running over breathlessly. "Xiaofan, this," Wang Jianwei was panting, and the muscles on his face were twitching. "I don't have time to explain so much to you." Lin Fan reached out and patted Wang Jianwei's shoulder, then glanced at the chimpanzee in the cage and said, "I have to go in now. For safety reasons, you'd better go in with me. As for your parents, you notify them and ask them to find a safe place to hide and prepare some food. My parents are not in Jiangnan City now." Wang Jianwei was anxious. "Then where are they?" Lin Fan asked. "They went on a business trip to Anzhou City," Wang Jianwei said. "Anzhou City? My sister is also there. I'm going to Anzhou City later. You call them and notify them. Do what I just said, and then we'll go together," Lin Fan said quickly. Okay, Wang Jianwei nodded his head like a chicken pecking at rice. Then, he quickly called his parents and told them about the doomsday, but before he could finish his words, the call was forced to be disconnected. "Don't be nervous. The Earth is affected by the cosmic energy storm. From now on, all communication systems will be paralyzed. You have said everything you should say. They should do as you say," Lin Fan said, looking at the chimpanzee in the iron cage again, and said, "Time is running out. Take me in quickly." Chapter 4 Doomsday. Wang Jianwei dared not waste time, and took Lin Fan to find the administrator who was in charge of the chimpanzees. The administrator naturally knew Wang Jianwei, but when he heard Wang Jianwei say that he wanted to go in and also wanted a tranquilizer gun, he hesitated. However, when he heard Wang Jianwei say that he didn't need to take responsibility if something happened, and he would be fired if he didn't obey his orders, he didn't say a word and immediately handed the iron cage key and tranquilizer gun to Wang Jianwei. There was no way. These chimpanzees had good fighting power, especially the chimpanzee with mutagenic factors in its body. From the data, it was stronger than African lions and Siberian tigers. It was not easy to extract mutagenic factors from such animals without some special means. Let's go in. Remember to lock the iron door later," Lin Fan said. "Xiaofan, will there really be zombies?" Wang Jianwei's face was extremely heavy. "Really?" Lin Fan nodded. Wang Jianwei was silent, and didn't say anything more. After handing the tranquilizer gun to Lin Fan, he walked forward to open the iron door. After they all went in, he locked the iron door tightly again. The tourists outside who were watching the chimpanzees saw two people appear in the iron cage, especially seeing Lin Fan holding a tranquilizer gun in his hand, and they also started to discuss curiously. Lin Fan naturally had no intention of paying attention to these discussions. The end of the world was about to come, and it didn't matter what others said. Roar. The chimpanzee carrying the mutagenic factor in its body noticed Lin Fan and Wang Jianwei at the first time. It seemed that it could sense that a danger was approaching it, and it opened its mouth and roared at Lin Fan and Wang Jianwei. But it didn't rush over to attack, but quickly ran to the rockery. It knew what Lin Fan was holding in his hand and didn't dare to confront it head-on. Lin Fan took the tranquilizer gun, aimed at the chimpanzee, pulled the trigger, and an anesthetic needle flew out. With a whoosh, the anesthetic needle was accurately shot at the chimpanzee. Wang Jianwei was stunned. The chimpanzee ran so fast. He never thought that Lin Fan's shooting was so accurate that he could hit the chimpanzee while it was running. However, this chimpanzee was stronger than ordinary chimpanzees. The medicine in an anesthetic needle could anesthetize ordinary chimpanzees, but not this one. Lin Fan did not hesitate and gave the chimpanzee 2 more shots. Finally, under the effect of 3 anesthetic needles, the chimpanzee was completely unconscious, rolled down from the rockery and lay on the ground motionless. The other chimpanzees in the iron cage were already frightened and hid in some corners and hidden places. The discussion among the tourists outside became more and more intense, and many people loudly questioned why Lin Fan gave the chimpanzee an anesthetic injection. Zhou Jun and Liu Yun happened to come to the outside of the iron cage and saw the scene. Just when Zhou Jun was about to ask Wang Jianwei, something strange happened around him. Ah! Why am I bleeding from the nose? You are bleeding from the nose too. Hurry up and raise your head, I can't stop it. Why can't I stop it? Many people who were originally standing well began to have nosebleeds, and the bleeding continued. No matter what they did, they couldn't stop the nosebleed. Some people took out their mobile phones to call the emergency number, only to find that their mobile phones all showed no signal and could not make any calls at all. In an instant, the outside world was in chaos. Lin Fan was very calm about this situation. He took a look at the chimpanzees hiding, and several of them also showed symptoms of nosebleeds. There are 5 minutes left. You knock down those chimpanzees with nosebleeds, and then stab them in the head with a knife, otherwise, they will all become zombie-like monsters later, Lin Fan said while taking off the backpack from his back and quickly took out the things he had prepared before. Field boots. Field combat uniform. He put them on in no time. Then, he handed the dagger and tranquilizer gun to Wang Jianwei. Wang Jianwei's expression was hard to describe. He only asked with difficulty, Zhao Fan, those people with nosebleeds outside, will become zombies? Yes, those who show symptoms now will become zombies in 5 minutes. That is, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Those who are bitten by them will become zombies within 10 seconds, just like in the zombie movies you watch. Lin Fan nodded and urged, time is very tight, act quickly. After that, Lin Fan didn't care about Wang Jianwei anymore. He took the syringe and walked to the chimpanzee, stabbed the needle into it, and quickly drew blood. He read the blood data in the syringe through the ring again. Item, chimpanzee blood mutagenic factor. Yes, can it make the human body evolve? Yes. After reading the data, Lin Fan did not delay and directly stabbed his arm with a needle and injected the drawn chimpanzee blood into his body. However, this fusion process takes a certain amount of time and cannot be completed immediately. While Lin Fan and Wang Jianwei were taking their own actions, Zhou Jun and Liu Yun outside the iron cage were even more panicked by the situation around them. Liu Yun hugged Zhou Jun tightly and said anxiously, Brother Jun, what should we do now? Zhou Jun took a deep breath, and beads of sweat gradually appeared on his forehead. The disappearance of the sun and the sudden nosebleeds of many people around him. For some reason, these two things gave him an extremely bold idea, that is, he vaguely felt that the doomsday that Lin Fan said might really happen. As for why Lin Fan made such a prediction, he no longer had time to guess this question. He only knew that he had to do something now. Don't worry about it for now. It's so chaotic outside. Let's go find Wang Jianwei and ask him to take the key to open the iron gate. Let's stay in there with him. It won't be too late to come out when it's calm outside. Zhou Jun made a decision. There was no signal on his mobile phone, and he couldn't make calls. He couldn't contact relatives and friends even if he wanted to, so he could only hide in the zoo temporarily. The two hurriedly walked towards the iron cage door. At this time, Wang Jianwei had already used the tranquilizer gun to knock out the chimpanzees with nosebleeds, as Lin Fan said, and stabbed the chimpanzees in the head with a dagger. After doing this, Wang Jianwei was stunned and stood there. He couldn't imagine that he had done such a crazy thing. Wang Jianwei, open the door quickly. At this time, Zhou Jun brought Liu Yun to the iron gate, knocking on the iron gate and shouting. Hearing the shouting, Wang Jianwei looked over and hesitated whether to open the door. What the hell are you still standing there for? Open the door quickly. Zhou Jun saw Wang Jianwei standing there, and immediately cursed. Ask someone to open the door, and you are still so arrogant? It seems that you haven't figured out the current situation. Lin Fan stood up from the ground, with a slight smile on his face. Lin Fan, open the door. Aren't you short of money? Brother Jun will give you the money, Liu Yun said beside him. Money, Lin Fan smiled and said, to me, it's just useless paper, damn it. Stop showing off. Open the door and I'll give you 100,000, Zhou Jun said. Before you talk about money, maybe you should consider them. Lin Fan pointed behind Zhou Jun and Liu Yun. The two looked back and saw a scene that they would never forget. The people who had nosebleeds just now suddenly twitched, then shook rapidly, and then a large area of their bodies rotted and emitted a foul smell. Roar. Then, a harsh and unpleasant roar came from their mouths. Before the people around them could react, they pounced on them, opened their mouths and bit them wildly, and large pieces of flesh and blood were bitten off by them. For a while, screams came one after another, and the whole zoo was filled with the atmosphere of hell on earth, no longer as cheerful as before. Doomsday has officially arrived in the world. Chapter 5 Pick up Strength Attribute. Zhou Jun and Liu Yun were sweating profusely at this scene. It's not like they haven't seen zombie movies before, but that was just a movie after all. Compared with the real scene in front of them, it was nothing. They had never thought that there would be real zombies. Wang Jianwei couldn't help swallowing his saliva. This was a zombie that wanted to eat people. Brother Jun. I'm scared. Liu Yun was trembling all over, wishing he could hide in Zhou Jun's body. Zhou Jun was also very scared at this time. He quickly turned his head to look at Lin Fan and Wang Jianwei in the iron gate and shouted, quick! Open the door. Let us in. I'll give you any money you want. It would have been better if he didn't shout. When he shouted, the zombies in front heard the sound and immediately shifted their attention. Roar. The zombies roared again, shaking their bodies, and walked towards Zhou Jun and Liu Yun step by step. Lin Fan. Open the door for us. Please. Open the door and let us in. When Liu Yun saw the zombies coming, his legs became weak with fear. There was no trace of his previous arrogance. Lin Fan was unmoved. In the apocalypse, there was no order and rules in modern society. No one stipulated that anyone had the obligation to save others. Moreover, in many cases, people were more terrifying than zombies. Human nature was the most difficult thing to figure out. Roar. Suddenly, a roar came from the iron cage. Lin Fan looked over and saw a dead chimpanzee standing up from the ground. The chimpanzee's body had already decayed over a large area, but after it stood up, it rushed towards the other chimpanzees who were still alive but not transformed into corpses without hesitation. You didn't pierce its head completely with a dagger just now, and it will transform into corpses now. I'll go and deal with it first, otherwise it will be very troublesome if the other chimpanzees are infected later. Lin Fan saw the key to the problem at a glance. It turned out that Wang Jianwei didn't pierce the chimpanzee's head completely with a dagger just now. After saying that, he rushed towards the chimpanzee with an axe in his hand. At the same time, he read the chimpanzee's data through the ring. Species, corpse transformed chimpanzee level 1 strength, 4 speed, 4 reaction, 4 pickup attribute, strength. An illusory light screen appeared in Lin Fan's sight. Zombies, like evolvers, have levels, from level 1 to level 9. Level 1 is the weakest, and level 9 is the strongest. After the chimpanzee undergoes corpse transformation, its strength, speed, and reaction will increase. So lucky, Lin Fan didn't pay attention to the chimpanzee's other data. When he glanced at the column of pickup attributes, he couldn't help but be surprised. This ring can not only read data, but also pick up favorable attributes. For example, if you pick up the strength attribute, your own strength will increase. If you pick up the speed attribute, your own speed will also increase. But the chance of encountering a pickup attribute is very small. Although Lin Fan died not long after getting the ring in his previous life, However, when he got it, he read a lot of things through the ring, and only read a defense attribute from a tree as thick as a person. Unexpectedly, when the doomsday broke out this time, he was lucky enough to encounter something that can pick up attributes. In this case, we must not let this chimpanzee go. The corpse-transformed chimpanzee attacked the other normal chimpanzees, causing them to flee in fear. Due to the speed difference, the normal chimpanzees were not attacked by the corpse-transformed chimpanzee. Lin Fan's body was integrating mutagenic factors, and his body had not yet evolved. He had to rely entirely on his combat experience in his previous life to deal with this corpse-transformed chimpanzee. The corpse-transformed chimpanzee heard the movement from behind, turned to face Lin Fan, gave up other prey, and pounced on Lin Fan. Lin Fan's eyes were slightly focused, enduring the stench emanating from the chimpanzee, and when the other party pounced on him, he dodged it with a flash. The chimpanzee pounced on nothing, and was about to attack Lin Fan again, but an axe chopped on its head, cutting off half of its head. Quick, accurate and ruthless. Lin Fan's move was clean and neat, without any drag. After seeing the right opportunity, he would not give the chimpanzee any chance. When the huge body of the chimpanzee lay motionless on the ground, the ring immediately read out a light screen data that appeared above the chimpanzee's body. Species, corpse-transformed chimpanzee pickup attribute, strength pickup, yes no. Lin Fan responded silently in his heart, and the chimpanzee's strength attribute was immediately picked up by him. At this moment, he only felt a surge of power in his body, as if all the cells in his body became active, and the palm of his hand holding the axe seemed to have a small clucking sound between the joints. Read my own data, Lin Fan said in his heart. Species, human strength. 3 speed. 2 reaction. 2 evolutionary status, evolving the data of ordinary humans, strength, speed, and reaction are all 2. Just now, he picked up the strength attribute of the corpse-transformed chimpanzee and automatically added it to his strength. Therefore, the value of strength changed from 2 to 3. As for the evolutionary status below the data, it was naturally because he was fusing the mutagenic factor. After the fusion is completed, the data of the body will still change. Moreover, during the evolution process, there is a certain probability of obtaining superpowers. About 3 months after the doomsday in his previous life, Lin Fan had seen an evolver with a strong climbing ability, just like Spider-Man in the movie, who could climb on a right-angled wall. Such an ability is the so-called superpower. There are very few people with superpowers, and maybe only 1 in 1,000 evolvers will appear. No matter whether I can evolve superpowers or not, with this ring on me, I will definitely have a place in the doomsday. A firm look appeared in Lin Fan's eyes. He was killed by Zhou Xiao and Ji Liangchen in his previous life, and such a tragedy would never happen again in this life. Click. Suddenly, there was a sound of a door opening behind him. Lin Fan looked back and saw Wang Jianwei opening the iron door and letting Zhou Jun and Liu Yun in. Then, Wang Jianwei quickly locked the door, and the zombies just pounced on the iron door and beat it. Zhou Jun and Liu Yun were so scared that their legs were shaking and sweating all over. It can be clearly seen that the clothes on their backs were completely wet with sweat. Lin Fan frowned slightly. According to his original intention, he did not intend to let Zhou Jun and Liu Yun in. But Wang Jianwei had already let them in. Which meant that Wang Jianwei had not yet realized what the doomsday was. People like Zhou Jun and Liu Yun were sarcastic and mean, and they were not worth helping at all. Let me remind you first, if you don't listen to the arrangements and do something stupid without authorization, I will let you know how heavy the price of making mistakes is. Lin Fan looked at Zhou Jun and Liu Yun and said indifferently. If these 2 people were obedient and followed the arrangements, he could give them a chance to live. But if they insisted on seeking death, he would never be soft-hearted. Chapter 6 Successful Fusion. Zhou Jun felt very unhappy when he heard Lin Fan's words. Just now, he was outside and was afraid of those zombies. He had no other choice but to come in and hide, so he said those words. Now that he is inside, with his pampered temperament, only others will listen to him, not him. Zhou Jun perked up and looked at Lin Fan and said, "Why are you so arrogant? Now we are all trapped here. In addition to waiting for the police to rescue us, can we fly out? It's really ridiculous to let us listen to your arrangements. Do you think it's funny?" Lin Fan looked directly into Zhou Jun's eyes and walked over step by step. "I just think it's funny," Zhou Jun snorted coldly. Snap. Lin Fan stretched out his hand and slapped Zhou Jun in the face. The loud slap sounded, and a deep 5-finger mark appeared on Jo Jun's face. This slap almost knocked Jo Jun unconscious. "How dare you hit me?" Jo Jun roared. Snap! Lin Fan stretched out his hand and slapped him again. The other half of Jo Jun's face also had 5-finger marks. Humiliation. This was a humiliation to him. From childhood to adulthood, he had never been yelled at, let alone beaten. What's more, he was slapped in the face in front of a woman. "Fuck your mother." Jo Jun was furious and wanted to reach out to fight back. Bang! However, before he could react, Lin Fan raised his foot and kicked him hard in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. The intense pain made Jo Jun lie on the ground, holding his stomach with both hands and screaming. "Shut up, if you make any more noise and attract zombies, I will kill you now." Lin Fan squatted down, put the axe in front of Jo Jun, and said indifferently. From Lin Fan's eyes, Jo Jun could see that Lin Fan really dared to kill him. He didn't dare to make any more noise, holding his stomach with one hand and his mouth with the other. He could only secretly remember this grudge first. Wang Jianwei and Liu Yun were both stunned. They never thought that the situation would turn out like this, and they never thought that Lin Fan would beat Jo Jun so badly. However, this also shocked them from the bottom of their hearts. At least now they understood one thing: Lin Fan has the final say here. Therefore, even Liu Yun, who was about to help Jo Jun up, gave up such an idea, fearing that it would implicate her. These zombies have no vision and sense of smell, and can only judge by hearing. In other words, they will lean towards where there is a sound. Lin Fan glanced outside the iron cage. Because of Jo Jun's scream just now, several zombies were attracted and surrounded the iron gate tightly. "Zio Fan, what should we do now? The phone can't be dialed out anymore. Should we wait here for the police to come?" Wang Jianwei took a deep breath. Liu Yun's eyes were also staring at Lin Fan. She didn't want to stay in this place. She wanted to go home and be with her family. Fang Qianzhen remained calm, as if he was talking about something very ordinary. "The outbreak of the doomsday will plunge the whole world into chaos. Perhaps the country will take corresponding measures after the reaction, but do you think the police can handle it now?" Fang Qianzhen didn't want to reveal too much information to them. In fact, at the beginning of the outbreak of the doomsday, the country will indeed take some measures, but such measures can only rely on the military regions that have not been infected by zombies to establish a safe base. And it is impossible to arrange personnel to carry out rescue. Of course, if some well-known doctors and scientists are not on the safe base, the country will send people to find them as soon as possible. After all, the outbreak of the doomsday can better reflect the demand for talents. As for what will develop in the future, Lin Fan can't predict it, because he didn't live too long in his previous life. Hearing Lin Fan say this, Liu Yun's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and his eyes couldn't help but turn red. He said with a crying voice, "Then what should we do? Are we just waiting to die here?" Wang Jianwei's face was also not looking good. He glanced at the iron gate and found that more than a dozen zombies had gathered outside the iron gate. "Without the police to rescue us, we can't get out at all. Even if we are not bitten to death by zombies, we will starve to death here." Wang Jianwei looked gloomy. "Who said we can't get out?" Lin Fan asked back. These words immediately gave Wang Jianwei and Liu Yun hope. Liu Yun reacted most strongly and asked quickly, "Lin Fan, how can we get out?" Lin Fan glanced at her and didn't answer. He just pointed to the backpack and said, "Jianwei, there are food in the bag. Eat if you are hungry. I will go to rest for a while. After I rest well, we will leave here." After that, Lin Fan walked straight to the side, sat on the ground against the wall, and closed his eyes to rest. Of course, he didn't really want to rest, but to wait for the mutagenic factors in his body to fuse completely, so that his own attributes will increase and he can survive better. As for how long the fusion will take, he couldn't be sure, so he could only wait. Wang Jianwei was indeed a little hungry. He glanced at Lin Fan, who was sitting on the ground with his eyes closed, and then walked over to open the backpack and took out some food from it. "Are you hungry?" Wang Jianwei looked at Liu Yun and asked. "Yeah," Liu Yun nodded. "Here's the bread." Wang Jianwei handed a piece of bread to Liu Yun, then sighed slightly and gave another piece of bread to Jo Jun, who was lying on the ground. Although Lin Fan didn't open his eyes, he heard clearly that Wang Jianwei gave bread to Liu Yun and Jo Jun. He didn't stop Wang Jianwei from giving food. The doomsday had just arrived, and Wang Jianwei hadn't experienced the distortion of human nature at the doomsday. It was normal for him to behave like this in front of the living people around him. While eating bread, Liu Yun couldn't help but look at Lin Fan several times. She secretly told herself that she must have a good relationship with Lin Fan. Only in this way could she leave this broken place. Because, until now, she realized a problem belatedly. That is, facing the doomsday, she, Wang Jianwei and Zhou Jun were all flustered, but Lin Fan was the calmest and quickly killed a corpse-transformed chimpanzee. Time passed by minute. 2 hours later. Lin Fan opened his eyes, clenched his palms together, and felt the surging power in his body. A smile flashed across his eyes. After the past 2 hours, he had completely integrated the mutagenic factor. With a flash of thought, he immediately used the ring to read his own data. Species, human level 1 strength. 5 speed. 4 reaction. 4 power, none. The light screen information appeared in front of him. Lin Fan quickly scanned it and was quite satisfied. This meant that after integrating the mutagenic factor, he officially became an evolver. Get ready, we're leaving here now, Lin Fan stood up and said. Chapter 7 Fight Out. Lin Fan's words made Wang Jianwei and Liu Yun couldn't help but perk up. Even Zhou Jun, who had been leaning on the other side, quickly looked over. Although Zhou Jun was very unhappy with Lin Fan's beating him, it did not affect his desire to leave here. Only by leaving here can he have the chance to take revenge. Zhou Fan, the gate is surrounded by zombies. How can we get out? Wang Jianwei glanced at the iron gate. In the past 2 hours, more than 20 zombies have gathered outside the iron gate. The area of the iron gate was not too large to begin with, and now more than 20 zombies gathered together, completely blocking the iron gate. There is no other choice, we can only fight our way out, Lin Fan gave an answer. The place where the chimpanzees were imprisoned was a huge iron cage. It was impossible for them to saw open the iron cage to escape, not to mention that they didn't have the tools to saw the iron cage. Fight our way out, Liu Yun clenched her jade hands and said with some fear, Lin Fan, there are so many zombies, how can we fight our way out? Just follow me. Lin Fan glanced at Liu Yun indifferently without saying much. He quickly took the axe in his right hand and the dagger in his left hand, fully armed and ready. Jianwei, you are responsible for opening the door. Lin Fan's eyes fixed. Once the door is opened, you get back behind me, okay? Although Wang Jianwei was very scared, he couldn't refuse to do it at this time. Also, be careful when opening the door, don't grab the zombie's hand, otherwise you will be infected, Lin Fan reminded. Wang Jianwei nodded, took a deep breath, and walked forward. Lin Fan followed Wang Jianwei to the iron gate. Seeing this, Zhou Jun and Liu Yun did not delay and hurried to follow, not daring to fall behind. They all knew that once the iron gate was opened, the zombies outside would pour in. Following Lin Fan might still have a glimmer of hope, but if he didn't follow, he would have to let the zombies slaughter him. When walking towards the iron gate, Lin Fan used the ring to read the data of those zombies. Species, zombie strength. 2 speed. 2 reaction. 2 These are all ordinary zombies, not even reaching the level 1 standard, and their various data are the same as normal humans. In a one-on-one situation, a normal person has a high chance of surviving in front of an ordinary zombie. Unfortunately, with the outbreak of the doomsday, zombies will become the mainstream of the world, and their number will far exceed that of living people. So when dealing with zombies, the most important thing is to avoid being trapped in their encirclement. Wang Jianwei quickly walked to the iron gate, looking at the rotting zombies in front of him. It was hard for him to imagine that these zombies were still human a few hours ago. Taking another deep breath, Wang Jianwei straightened his chest, put his hand on the door lock, and then looked back at Lin Fan. Step back as soon as it opens, don't hesitate, Lin Fan gestured. Yes, Wang Jianwei nodded heavily, without any further delay, stretched out his hand to open the door lock, turned around and ran towards Lin Fan. Ling. Without the restraint of the door lock, the zombies knocked the iron gate open with a harsh sound. Then, more than 20 zombies filed in. Roar. The ugly and harsh roars continued to come out of the zombies' mouths, and they rushed towards Lin Fan and his companions like hungry wolves smelling delicious food. Seeing this scene, Wang Jianwei, Liu Yun, and Zhou Jun all turned pale. Especially Liu Yun, his palms were instantly covered with cold sweat, and his body retreated uncontrollably. Crack. At the same time, Lin Fan stepped forward, holding an axe in his right hand, and chopped the first zombie's head with one axe. The brain matter and rotten and smelly blood in the zombie's skull gushed out at once. Swish. Lin Fan held a dagger in his left hand and stabbed the second zombie's head at an extremely fast speed. The dagger penetrated it completely, and when it was pulled out, it still brought a stream of rotten blood. Just like in the movie, if you want to kill zombies, you must attack their heads. Only when the head is broken will they die completely. Otherwise, even if you cut off their limbs and only leave a head, they will still open their mouths to attack people. Roar. The zombies rushing up from behind continued to make unpleasant roars, waving their rotten arms, and swarmed towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan quickly took 2 steps back to avoid the zombies' attack. He took a step and moved sideways, holding a dagger in his left hand and an axe in his right hand, launching a new round of attack. Now he has become a first-level evolver, and his strength, speed and reaction are much higher than those ordinary zombies. As long as he's not trapped in the encirclement, these ordinary zombies can't hurt him at all. Wang Jianwei and the other 2 stood behind, and their eyes widened a little when they saw Lin Fan constantly killing zombies. They really didn't expect Lin Fan to be so powerful. I must follow Lin Fan well. Only by following him can I survive, Liu Yun thought secretly in his heart. Zhou Jun's mood was a bit complicated. On the one hand, he wanted to leave here alive and wanted to see Lin Fan kill all those zombies. On the other hand, the more powerful Lin Fan performed, the smaller the chance of his revenge would be. As for Wang Jianwei, he didn't think as much as the 2 of them thought. After all, he was going to follow Lin Fan, and his parents were waiting for him to rescue him. Crack! Crack! The crisp sound of breaking the skull continued to be heard. Lin Fan swung the axe and dagger in his hands continuously, and the bodies of the zombies fell one after another. In less than 2 minutes, more than 20 zombies were lying on the ground, and they were completely eliminated. What are you still standing there for? Go quickly, if you don't go out, more zombies will surround you. Lin Fan didn't bother to get rid of the rotten blood on his body. He looked back at Wang Jianwei and the other 2, frowned and shouted. The noise of dealing with the zombies just now was not small. In addition, there were a large number of zombies in the zoo. Many zombies had heard the sound and were moving towards this side. If they didn't leave in time, they would indeed be surrounded by zombies again. Moreover, at that time, the number would not be as small as 20 zombies, but very likely 100, or even hundreds. Hearing the shouting, Wang Jianwei and the other 2 quickly reacted, put away their emotions, ran forward, followed Lin Fan closely, and ran out of the iron cage together. Sure enough, as soon as they rushed out of the chimpanzee garden, they could clearly see that zombies were gathering here from several directions. Jianwei, is there a parking lot here? Lin Fan asked quickly. Yes, Wang Jianwei nodded and said. But it's not very close to where we are now. It's to the left of the main entrance of the zoo. It's fine as long as there is a parking lot. Let's get on the sightseeing bus first, drive the sightseeing bus to the parking lot, and then find another car. Lin Fan made a decision quickly, and his eyes were fixed on the sightseeing bus not far to the right front. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Parking Lot. The sudden outbreak of the doomsday caught many people off guard, leaving them no chance to escape, causing the number of zombies to increase dramatically. If Wang Jianwei and his 3 companions had strong combat capabilities, they would have been able to reach the parking lot without the sightseeing bus. But now Wang Jianwei and his 3 companions have just begun to face the doomsday, and they obviously have no ability to deal with zombies. It is not easy for Lin Fan to lead the 3 of them alone to fight their way out of the zombie siege, so it is wise to choose the sightseeing bus. At this time, there are also several zombies around the sightseeing bus. Roar. Hearing the voices of Lin Fan and his companions, the zombies opened their mouths and let out a piercing roar, and began to pounce on them. Lin Fan rushed forward in one step, swung his axe quickly, and chopped the zombies' heads hard. As their brains spurted out, the zombies fell to the ground one after another. After clearing out these zombies, Lin Fan tilted his head and said, Jianwei, you are familiar with the roads in the zoo, you drive. At this critical moment, time is more important than anything else. Wang Jianwei is more familiar with the distribution of the zoo's roads than they are, which can save a lot of time. The most important thing is that there is no guarantee that there will be no zombies attacking while the sightseeing bus is driving, so Lin Fan must pay attention to this problem at any time. Wang Jianwei did not hesitate and quickly sat in the driver's seat of the sightseeing bus. Zhou Jun and Liu Yun also moved quickly and sat in the second and third rows in a blink of an eye. Lin Fan stood in the middle of the sightseeing bus. As long as a zombie approached, he could quickly knock it down. Roar! Zombies in several directions around shook their rotten bodies and quickly approached the sightseeing bus. Let's go, Lin Fan reminded. Okay, Wang Jianwei stepped on the pedal, and the sightseeing bus accelerated and ran out. As expected, the zombies followed the sightseeing bus to chase. Of course, the speed of the zombies could not be faster than the sightseeing bus, and they were soon left far behind. Liu Yun sat in her seat and breathed a sigh of relief after getting rid of the crisis of zombies chasing her. Until now, she still found it difficult to imagine that the originally good world would suddenly become a hell on earth. However, this also made her more determined to stay with Lin Fan. Zhou Jun was secretly thinking about something, and was ready to find a suitable opportunity to get out. Zhou Fan, the situation is not good. There are zombies blocking the road ahead, and the sightseeing bus can't get through, Wang Jianwei said anxiously. There were 20 to 30 zombies standing scattered on the road ahead. The sightseeing bus itself was not of good quality, and it might not be a big problem to hit 1 or 2 zombies, but if it hit 20 to 30 zombies, it would be impossible. Lin Fan looked forward, holding the axe and dagger tightly in his hands. I'll go and clean them up, you drive behind me, and pay attention to the surrounding situation at all times. Before Wang Jianwei could react, Lin Fan jumped off the sightseeing bus and rushed forward at a faster speed. Run so fast, Wang Jianwei, Zhou Jun and Liu Yun were almost stunned. They never thought that Lin Fan's speed would be so fast, just as fast as the world champion. Click! Lin Fan quickly rushed to the zombies, swinging his axe and stabbing with his dagger. The zombies' heads kept cracking and falling to the ground. In order to prevent the zombies from blocking the road, Lin Fan kicked them away after they fell to the ground. This scene surprised Wang Jianwei and the other two even more. The weight of those zombies was more than 100 pounds. How much strength would it take to kick them so far? Lin Fan didn't know how much his behavior had shocked Wang Jianwei and the other two. He continued to swing his axe and dagger to deal with the zombies. Soon, the zombies blocking the road were cleared away. When Wang Jianwei drove the sightseeing car over, Lin Fan jumped onto the car. Help! Save us! Suddenly, a cry for help came from a house next to him. It's those tourists. Wang Jianwei took a look and quickly recognized the other party's identity. Don't worry, just go, Lin Fan said calmly. This is the rule of the doomsday, the fittest survive, the capable survive. If we go to save them, we will be surrounded by more zombies, and then no one will survive. I know, Wang Jianwei nodded. Although he wanted to help, he would listen to Lin Fan's arrangements. What's more, Lin Fan was right. After they went over, the zombies around them would surround them again. Not only would they not be able to save the people, but they would also lose their lives. Wang Jianwei didn't think about it anymore and stepped on the accelerator of the sightseeing car. Fortunately, there were no zombies blocking the road behind. However, during this period, they also saw an infected elephant, and its rampage was terrifying. 10 minutes later, the sightseeing car came out of the zoo viewing area. Wang Jianwei turned the steering wheel and drove into the parking lot on the left. There were obviously fewer zombies in the parking lot than in the zoo. There were probably only dozens of zombies wandering in the parking lot of thousands of square meters. Hearing the movement of the sightseeing car, the dozens of zombies began to gather around the sound. Lin Fan quickly scanned and soon locked onto Toyota Prado. Although the Toyota Prado is not a very expensive car, it is large enough and relatively resistant to collision. When driving on the road, if there are not many zombies, you can directly crash into it. Jianwei, drive to the right and stop next to the Prado, Lin Fan reminded. Okay, Wang Jianwei responded, turned the steering wheel, and quickly drove the sightseeing car to the right, and soon stopped in front of the Prado. Lin Fan, we don't have the key to this car. How can we drive this car? Liu Yun looked at the zombies in the parking lot speeding towards them, and couldn't help asking anxiously. Lin Fan did not answer Liu Yun's question. He walked to the driver's window of the Prado, picked up an axe and smashed it, and immediately smashed the window open, quickly opened the door and sat in. If you don't want to be beaten by zombies, get in the car quickly, Lin Fan said. Wang Jianwei quickly sat in the passenger seat, while Zhou Jun and Liu Yun sat in the back seat. As soon as they sat down, they saw Lin Fan pulling the car's wire to start the engine, and the car started in a few seconds. This, Wang Jianwei swallowed a saliva. As Lin Fan's roommate, he really didn't know when Lin Fan learned such a skill. Although he wanted to ask, he swallowed the words back when they came to his lips. He could feel that the current Lin Fan was no longer the Lin Fan of the past. The good thing was that Lin Fan would still help him out of old times, otherwise he would never be able to escape from the zoo. Boom. Lin Fan stepped on the accelerator to the bottom, and the engine roared. The car rushed out of the parking space and shot towards the gate of the parking lot. Chapter 9 Distress at the Gas Station. Bang! Bang! Lin Fan drove his car into the zombies that surrounded him in the parking lot without any hesitation. With two muffled sounds, two zombies were knocked out. Wang Jianwei was sitting in the passenger seat, watching this scene clearly, and his heartbeat accelerated. He originally thought that Lin Fan would bypass these zombies, but he didn't expect Lin Fan to be so hardcore. Boom! The engine kept making noises, and the car quickly drove out of the parking lot and drove on the road outside. At this time, the outside world had already been in chaos, filled with the roars of zombies and the screams of humans. Fortunately, this road has 6 lanes, otherwise the road would be completely blocked by some car accidents. Lin Fan, where are we going now? Liu Yun retracted her gaze from the window, shifted her gaze to Lin Fan, and asked with some sadness. Her family was in other provinces, and the phone couldn't be reached. Even if she wanted to contact her family, she had no way to do it. She could only rely on Lin Fan to survive first and see if there would be a chance for Lin Fan to take her to find her family later. Wang Jianwei and Zhou Jun were also curious about Liu Yun's question. They followed Liu Yun and looked at Lin Fan. In the next 3 days, the number of zombies will increase dramatically, and there is a high possibility of a zombie tide. We must find a safe place to stay first, otherwise we will die if we encounter a zombie tide. Lin Fan frowned and said. What is a zombie tide? Liu Yun didn't quite understand. To put it simply, it is a group of zombies, ranging from hundreds of thousands to millions. Lin Fan clearly remembered that in the 3 days after the doomsday outbreak in his previous life, the number of zombies exploded, and the world's rulers changed from humans to zombies. Then, between the 6th and 7th days, a large-scale zombie tide appeared in Jiangnan City. It is roughly estimated that the number of zombies in the zombie tide at that time was at least 1 million. Wherever the zombie tide passes, no creature has a chance of survival. Therefore, in the first week of the doomsday outbreak, they must find a safe place to ensure their survival. Only by avoiding the first week can they take the next step of the plan. The zombie tide is too terrifying. Wang Jianwei and the other two were shocked when they heard the huge number of zombies. With so many zombies, no one can stop them. Zhou Fan, have you decided where to go to avoid a zombie tide? Wang Jianwei asked solemnly. Prison. Lin Fan uttered 2 words. Prison. Wang Jianwei was stunned. Yes, Lin Fan said calmly, in peacetime, prison is a place that no one wants to stay, but in the case of a zombie outbreak, the high walls of the prison are a kind of security. Staying in prison, if nothing unexpected happens, we should be able to avoid a zombie tide. In fact, Lin Fan was going to prison for another reason, that is, there must be guns in the prison. Although he is a first-level evolver, the strength of a first-level evolver is always limited. In the place where the doomsday breaks out, if you can have guns, the chance of survival will undoubtedly be greater. There are so many prisoners in the prison, and those prisoners have also become zombies, right? If we go to the prison, we may be courting death. Zhou Jun, who had not spoken a word, couldn't help but say. Yes, that makes sense. Lin Fan nodded. Then stepped on the brakes and stopped the car in the middle of the road. He glanced at Zhou Jun through the rearview mirror and said, if you don't want to go to prison, you can get off now. I'll give you 3 seconds to think it over. Roar. When the car stopped, 2 zombies on the side of the road just pounced on the rear window. The rotten and terrible faces of the zombies scared Zhou Jun so much that he dared not have any objections. Go to prison, Zhou Jun said tremblingly. Lin Fan smiled coldly, without saying anything more, stepped on the accelerator again, and drove away. The largest prison in Jiangnan City is located in Xianyuan District, about 30 kilometers away from their current location. Under normal circumstances, it takes about half an hour to drive 30 kilometers in the city. But now the doomsday has come, order is in chaos, traffic accidents are rampant, and many roads are completely blocked. After driving on this road for 15 minutes, Lin Fan had to take a detour. Because there was a chain of car accidents ahead, all 6 lanes were blocked, and the car could not pass smoothly at all. Zio Fan, the car seems to be running out of gas. Do you want to go get some gas? Wang Jianwei was sitting in the passenger seat, and when he glanced at the corner of his eye, he just saw the fuel gauge light up. Well, I saw it. There is a gas station ahead, let's go there to refuel, Lin Fan nodded. This gas station is not too big, but there are cars parked in all directions inside the gas station and at the entrance and exit. Fortunately, these cars did not completely block the road. If you are careful, the car can still drive in normally. While I refuel later, you can go and see if there is any food and water in the supermarket. If there is, then search for some, so that you don't have to go out to look for resources in the next few days, Lin Fan said. There are usually small supermarkets and gas stations. Although there are not too many things in them, they have everything they should have. It is a good time to stock up on supplies. Lin Fan parked the car next to the gas tank. He opened the door first and walked down. He looked around and did not find any danger. Although there are zombies, the zombies are trapped in those cars. They don't have the intelligence to open the car doors. Okay, go collect supplies, Lin Fan said to Wang Jianwei and the other 2. Also, if there are fire axes or longer weapons in the supermarket, take them just in case. If they want to survive in the doomsday, they must have a certain level of strength. He can't always watch over them. Wang Jianwei and the other 2 got out of the car and walked towards the supermarket carefully. Lin Fan took the gas gun and started to refuel the car. When he filled the gas and put the gas gun back, Liu Yun's screams came from the supermarket. Lin Fan frowned and quickly ran towards the supermarket. When he got closer, he found that something happened inside. Wang Jianwei and the other 2 were pointed at with knives and dared not move. The 6 people holding knives did not look like good people from their faces. The leading man with a flat head smiled grimly when he saw Lin Fan. He said in a deep voice, "Boy, if you don't want to see your companions die here, then come in. If you dare to run, they will both die." As for this woman, haha, I think you can imagine her fate. As he said that, the man with a flat head reached out and touched Liu Yun's face. Asshole. Don't touch me. Liu Yun subconsciously took a step back. Snap. The man with a flat head slapped Liu Yun in the face with his backhand. The loud slapping sound was crisp and pleasant. Did I allow you to hide? The man with a flat head said fiercely. Chapter 10 Take All. This slap made Liu Yun's cheeks flushed, tears welled up in her eyes, and she dared not make any sound again. Before the doomsday, the flat-headed man and his companions were hooligans in society. For people like them, a normal and orderly world would restrict their hands and feet. On the contrary, when the doomsday comes, it is the time for them to do whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want, and they are no longer bound by rules and laws. The flat-headed man had a sneer on his face and pointed his knife at Lin Fan. You have 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, if you haven't come in and put down your weapons, don't blame me for being cruel. Lin Fan narrowed his eyes, and without delay, he walked into the supermarket and put the axe and dagger in his hands at his feet. Very good. The flat-headed man was very satisfied with Lin Fan's self-awareness and gave a look to the younger brother next to him. The younger brother naturally understood what the flat-headed man meant. He smiled and walked towards Lin Fan, preparing to bend down to pick up the axe and dagger on the ground. Bang! However, just as he was bending down, Lin Fan's eyes fixed, and he suddenly bent his knee and hit him in the mouth, causing him to fall to the ground, his mouth full of blood, and 2 of his front teeth fell out. Fuck. You're looking for death? The flat-headed man was furious, not expecting Lin Fan to play tricks. Ignoring the flat-headed man's curse, Lin Fan quickly picked up the axe and dagger on the ground, raised his hand and waved, and the dagger flew out. In a blink of an eye, the dagger stabbed into the chest of the man who was holding the knife against Wang Jianwei. With a scream, the man fell to the ground and blood continued to flow out. Fuck. Kill him, the flat-headed man cursed, and no longer cared about Liu Yun in front of him, and rushed towards Lin Fan with a machete in his hand. The other 3 brothers who were still standing saw the flat-headed man take action, and they also did not hesitate. Bang! Bang! Lin Fan raised his foot and kicked continuously, and the 2 were kicked away immediately, and they covered their chests and vomited blood when they landed. Then, he dodged the attack of the flat-headed man and swung his axe to cut off the flat-headed man's arm. He dodged again and appeared beside the last man, kicking his ribs. The sound of the ribs breaking could be clearly heard. In less than a minute, all 6 flat-headed men were taken down. Wang Jianwei and the other 2 were shocked and frightened. They never expected that Lin Fan would act so quickly and so cruelly. Liu Yun's body was shaking constantly. Such a scene was indeed a little difficult for her as a woman to accept. Although she had seen Lin Fan's methods of dealing with zombies before, they were zombies after all, and now they were living humans. Collect supplies quickly, and zombies will soon surround us, Lin Fan ordered calmly. This is the rule of the doomsday. If you are not more cruel than others, others will be more cruel than you. If he did not have the strength and fell into the hands of the flat-headed men, his end would not necessarily be much better. Having experienced a lifetime, he deeply realized that if he wanted to live, he had to be cruel. What's more, in the apocalypse, the most dangerous thing may not be zombies, but human hearts. Human hearts are the most difficult to understand. Okay, Wang Jianwei was the first to react. There were already many cars blocking the gas station. If they were surrounded by zombies again, they might not be able to get out. What? You two still want to sit back and enjoy the fruits of their labor? Lin Fan looked at Zhou Jun and Liu Yun, who were still standing there without moving. Stared at by Lin Fan, Zhou Jun and Liu Yun couldn't help but shudder. They dared not to be dazed anymore and immediately went to collect supplies with Wang Jianwei. Lin Fan looked down at the flat-headed man who was covering his arm and screaming, and said in a cold tone, "The louder you scream, the faster the zombies will come. I hope you will still have the strength to deal with the zombies by then." Hearing this, the flat-headed man gritted his teeth, his face flushed, but he didn't dare to scream anymore. His arm was cut off, and he was in so much pain that he didn't even have the strength to stand up. What's more, Lin Fan was still here, so he had no chance to leave. In fact, he had regretted it to the extreme. If he had known that Lin Fan was so powerful, he would not have dared to provoke him even if he had a few more courage. Unfortunately, there is no regret medicine in this world, and you can only bear it silently. 2 minutes later, Wang Jianwei, Zhou Jun and Liu Yun returned to Lin Fan. Wang Jianwei and Zhou Jun each carried a large backpack and 2 large bags in their hands. Liu Yun was not as strong as them, so she only filled a backpack with things. Of course, in her backpack, she also prepared some necessary items so that she could sacrifice herself at any time to get a chance to stay with Lin Fan. There are already zombies outside, let's go. Lin Fan glanced at the 3 of them, waved his hand and turned to walk out. Each of you take another knife. When Wang Jianwei and the other 2 were collecting supplies, he had already taken back his dagger, which was his weapon. It happened that the flat-headed men provided machetes, which were not bad for Wang Jianwei and the other 2 to use as weapons. Wang Jianwei and Zhou Jun quickly picked up a knife from the ground. Liu Yun hesitated for 2 seconds, but still took a knife in her hand. Even though she had never held such a knife before, she could not let herself get willful and throw a tantrum now. Roar. When the 4 of them returned to the car, the harsh roar of zombies could already be heard outside the gas station. Lin Fan started the car, stepped on the accelerator, and directly crashed into the zombies blocking the exit, forcibly knocking out a path, and then left here. As for the life and death of the flat-headed men, it had nothing to do with them. The moment they left, the 6 flat-headed men no longer had the same brotherhood as before. One by one, they endured the pain in their bodies and scrambled for the 3 knives on the ground like crazy, and no one gave way to anyone else. The sky quickly darkened. Because many roads were blocked, until now, Lin Fan and his companions were still more than 10 kilometers away from the prison in Xianyang district. Roar. Roar. The whole city no longer had the glory of the past, and was filled with the roar of zombies everywhere. When the car reached the next fork in the road, Lin Fan stepped on the brakes and stopped. "Zio Fan, what's wrong?" Wang Jianwei asked. "The zombies ahead are making a lot of noise. I guess there are a lot of zombies gathering. I can't rush through with this car. I'm wondering if I should find a place to rest for the night," Lin Fan said. On the first night of the Doomsday outbreak, the number of zombies increased the fastest. If he was alone, it might not be a big problem, but now with Wang Jianwei and the other 2, he had to think carefully. "Lin Fan, I know there is a villa area nearby. If we want to rest, would it be safer to go to the villa area?" Liu Yun suddenly said. "Villa area?" Lin Fan thought about it and nodded. "Okay, the population in the villa area is not that dense, it is indeed much safer. Let's go to the villa area you mentioned to rest tonight, and continue to go to the prison during the day. Chapter 11 Big and Small Beauties. The villa area that Liu Yun mentioned is the most expensive residential area in Jiangnan City. Each villa here is not less than 10 million, and the most expensive one is worth hundreds of millions. Liu Yun came to this place not for other reasons, but because she met a wealthy businessman through the introduction of her schoolmates some time ago. The wealthy businessman offered 100,000 to support her for half a month, but he got tired of her, so this support thing ended. Then, she met Zhou Jun. In a sense, Zhou Jun can also be called a taker. While sitting in the car, Zhou Jun clenched the knife in his hand again and again. He kept thinking about whether to take revenge while Lin Fan was driving. In the end, he gave up this idea. First, Lin Fan showed great strength. Even if he could launch a sneak attack from behind now, he could not guarantee that he could take down Lin Fan 100%. Second, even if he killed Lin Fan, he was not sure he could survive outside. It would be better to rely on Lin Fan first and wait for a suitable opportunity later. Lin Fan, turn left at the intersection ahead, and go straight for a while and you will reach the gate of the villa area. Liu Yun was sitting in the back seat and pointing the way. Lin Fan responded casually, turned left, and continued to drive forward. 5 minutes later, the gate of the East Harbor Bay Villa area appeared in their sight. At this time, the gate of the villa area was open, and there were still dozens of zombies wandering around the gate and around it. You wait for me in the car, I will get rid of them. After Lin Fan finished speaking, he opened the car door and walked down, holding an axe and a dagger in his hand and rushed towards the zombie group, starting a fierce fight. Although driving a car can also knock a road open, such a movement will undoubtedly be very loud, and it is likely to attract more zombies, which is not the result he wants to see. While Lin Fan was slaughtering the zombies, Zhou Jun took a deep breath. Wang Jianwei, do you know why he's so powerful? Also, he seems to have anticipated this doomsday outbreak. How did he know? These two questions have been suppressed in Zhou Jun's mind for several hours, but he has never had the opportunity to ask them. Liu Yun was also very curious about these two questions. From her understanding of Lin Fan was just a bookworm. Such a huge transformation cannot be achieved in a short time. Wang Jianwei looked back at the two of them and shook his head helplessly. To be honest, I don't know why Xiafan has changed so much. As for him knowing the doomsday, I am even more confused. In short, if you want to live well, then listen to Xiafan's arrangements. After experiencing a day of doomsday, Wang Jianwei's thoughts have changed a lot. He didn't want to care while Lin Fan knew that the doomsday was coming, nor did he want to understand the reason why Lin Fan had such a big change. He only knew that following Lin Fan was the safest guarantee. Zhou Jun was obviously dissatisfied with Lin Fan's answer. When he was about to sneer and scold, Lin Fan had already cleared the zombies outside the gate of the villa area and walked back. Lin Fan returned to the driver's seat, didn't say much, drove into the villa area, and then closed the gate of the villa area, so as to prevent the zombies outside from coming in. The Donggangwen Villa district is very large, and the people who live here are either rich or noble. Many villa owners have hired nannies and servants. Although the number of people is not small, it still has some small advantages compared to the outside. The most important point is that these villas are not close to each other, so it is difficult to encounter a swarm of zombies. Lin Fan drove on the road in the villa district, paying attention to the surrounding villas at any time. He looked up and saw that there was another villa halfway up the mountain in Donggangwen. The villa was very large and was the largest in the entire villa district. He quickly made a decision to rest in that villa tonight. In a location like halfway up the mountain, with only one villa, the probability of zombies gathering is smaller, and it is much safer than the villas below. He stepped on the accelerator and drove straight to the halfway up the mountain. Outside the villa, there is a small parking lot built on the ground. At this moment, two women, one big and one small, were sitting in a Porsche Cayenne. The older one was about 20 years old, wearing a red miniskirt, with delicate features, long hair to the waist, and white skin. She was a real beauty. The younger one was about 15 or 16 years old, still wearing a high school uniform, with her hair tied in a ponytail. Her porcelain doll-like eyes looked very smart, and she was full of youthful and lively atmosphere. However, at this moment, both of them were in a very bad mood. The little beauty was crying all the time, crying and choking and saying, "Sister, why is this happening? Why did my parents become zombies? When she said this, the little beauty looked through the car window to the second floor of the villa. There, you can vaguely see the shadows of the middle-aged couple. Unfortunately, the middle-aged couple are no longer normal humans, but have become unconscious zombies. Miranzu's eyes were red, and she tried not to cry. She took Miran Shan's little hand and said, "Mom and Dad don't want to see us like this. We must be strong and live." "But, sister, there are zombies everywhere now. Where can we go?" Miran Shan asked weakly. Miranzu didn't know how to answer this question. She went to pick up Miran Shan to go home today. As soon as she picked her up, the end of the world came. Zombies bit people randomly, and the whole world changed drastically. If it weren't for her excellent driving skills, she and Miran Shan wouldn't even be able to go home. She thought she could reunite with her parents at home, but how could she have expected that her parents had turned into zombies? Zio Shan, Dad had a very good comrade in arms who was still in the army. I've seen him a few times. It might be safer for us to go find him. Miranzu made a decision quickly. This was also the only way out she could think of at the moment. Okay, Miran Shan could only nod. However, just as Miranzu was about to drive off, a car drove up from the bottom of the mountain very quickly and stopped at the far right parking space in the parking lot. The two sisters quickly shut up and stopped talking, hiding in the car and watching quietly. "Get out of the car, rest here tonight." In the Toyota Prado, Lin Fan opened the door first and walked out, followed by Wang Jianwei and the other two. Lin Fan took a look inside the villa and clearly saw the figures of zombies in the villa, but the number was not large, so it was not difficult to deal with them. The four of them walked towards the gate of the villa. Just after taking a few steps, they heard the sound of a car door opening next to them, and then saw two women walking out of the Cayenne. "Who are you?" Miranzu asked with a frown. "Miranzu," Wang Jianwei shouted in surprise. "Have we met before?" Miranzu was also surprised. "You may not know me, but I know you are the campus beauty of Jiangnan University," Wang Jianwei said. Chapter 12 Huge Potential. The name Miranzu is well known to all students of Jiangnan University. Jiangnan University has 4 campus beauties, and Miranzu is undoubtedly ranked first. She has countless suitors, but no one has succeeded in picking this proud rose. Miranzu rarely interacts with classmates, and her identity is a mystery. Many people want to know her information but have no way to start. When Zhou Jun saw Miranzu, his eyes were straight. He didn't expect that there was such a beautiful woman. He thought Liu Yun was very beautiful before. Now if Liu Yun and Miranzu are compared together, Liu Yun is so far behind. Facing Miranzu's beauty and figure, Liu Yun felt a huge sense of frustration, even though she was a proud girl in her heart. It's not that she is not good-looking, but that Miranzu is too beautiful. Lin Fan also looked at Miranzu and Miran Shan, but he did not appreciate the beauty of the two sisters. He was reading the data of the two sisters through the ring. Species, human strength. 2 speed. 2 reaction. 2 mutagenic factor, yes evolutionary status, not evolved yet. This is Miranzu's data information. Species, human strength. 2 speed. 2 reaction. 2 mutagenic factor, no potential superpower, yes this is Miran Shan's data information. Seeing the data presented on the 2 illusory light screens, Lin Fan was a little excited. This is just the beginning of the doomsday outbreak, and few people know how to extract mutagenic factors from animals like him. This means that Miranzu's body already has mutagenic factors, and she is the so-called innate evolver, but she has not started to evolve yet. Once she starts to evolve, the speed of strength improvement will not be slow at all. As for Miran Shan, she is even more special. Although there is no mutagenic factor in her body and she is not a congenital evolver, she has potential superpowers. You know, only one person with superpowers may appear in 1,000 evolvers. Miran Shan has potential superpowers. As long as she becomes an evolver, her superpowers can be stimulated, and she may be more powerful than them by then. At this moment, Lin Fan had already formed a desire to gather the two sisters. To live better in the doomsday, or even become the rule maker, he could not do it alone. A person's ability is always limited, and he must have a huge force to support him. Since he is reborn, he must live more excitingly than anyone else. "Why did you come to my house?" Miranzu looked at Lin Fan and the other 3 and asked in confusion. "Is this your home?" Wang Jianwei was stunned and couldn't help but sigh. No wonder Miranzu's identity was so mysterious and she had never agreed to anyone's pursuit. It turned out that her family was so excellent. This villa, Conservatively estimated, can't be bought without 200 million. This is the real princess-level school beauty. Let's take a rest for a night. Lin Fan didn't care about Murinzu's identity. When the doomsday comes, no matter how much money he has, it will be useless. To put it more bluntly, money is not as useful as paper for wiping your butt. Lin Fan stepped forward and said directly, there are zombies everywhere outside. If you plan to leave here now, you'd better give up this idea. Murinzu knew the truth of what Lin Fan said. After all, she and Murin Shan had escaped from outside, so they naturally knew that the situation outside was worse than here. There are zombies in the villa too. It's not safe for you to go in, Murinzu said. Don't worry about that. I can deal with it. Lin Fan glanced at the axe in his hand, then looked at Murinzu and her sister and said, this is your home. I'm sorry that we came here to disturb you, but for safety reasons, I think it would be better for us to go in together. Murinzu and Murin Shan are both potential strong men. Lin Fan will naturally give them the respect they deserve. At least he must first gain their favor, so that it is possible to keep them by his side. Aren't you afraid of zombies? Murin Shan, who had been silent, spoke up. Although zombies are scary, they are not invincible, Lin Fan said. Yes, please rest assured, we will not let the zombies hurt you. Jo Jun quickly stood up and said, my name is Jo Jun, Marriott Group is my family, nice to meet you. In front of Beauty, he could not resist such temptation at all, and wanted to leave some impression on Murinzu. He deliberately mentioned his background and identity of Marriott Group. Anyone who is not a fool could tell that he was showing off. Murinzu had heard of Marriott Group, but she just nodded symbolically. You already know my name, this is my sister, her name is Murin Shan. Jo Jun did not notice the coldness in Murinzu's attitude. When he heard Murinzu answer him, he was immediately overjoyed and was ready to say something. However, before he could say anything, Lin Fan interrupted him and said, since you are so powerful, the zombies in there will be handed over to you. Wait for you to get rid of them first, and then we can come in safely. As soon as these words came out, Jo Jun looked as if he had eaten a fly. His face became very ugly, and he opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. How could he deal with zombies? He just wanted to chat up with the Beauty. Lin Fan gave Jo Jun a sneer, and then turned around and walked into the villa without delay. Come in 3 minutes later, seeing Lin Fan walk into the villa alone, Murinzu and Murin Shan were slightly startled. They didn't expect Lin Fan to be so brave. Don't be surprised, Xiao Fan is very powerful. When we were at the zoo before, he brought us out safely, Wang Jian what you said with a smile. His words played a very good role, leaving a deep impression on Murinzu and Murin Shan. Lin Fan walked into the villa and soon saw a female zombie wearing a nanny's clothes. Before the female zombie noticed his figure, he had already rushed behind the female zombie and killed her with a swing of the axe. In this villa, except for the parents of Murinzu and her sister, the remaining few people were nannies and housekeepers. For Lin Fan, it was not difficult to solve them at all. In less than 3 minutes, he ended the fate of these zombies. When Murin Shan saw Lin Fan killing the zombies that her parents had transformed into on the second floor, tears started to flow down her cheeks again. Xiao Shan, your parents are gone, they are just zombies, Murinzu comforted her. Yes, sister, I know, Murin Shan nodded, she just couldn't help crying. Lin Fan stood by the window on the second floor and waved to Wang Jianwei and the others. Let's go in, Xiao Fan has already taken care of it, Wang Jianwei said. Okay, Murinzu took Murin Shan's hand and walked into the villa together. Wang Jianwei walked at the back, and when they all went in, he immediately locked the door of the villa. Seeing this scene, Lin Fan smiled slightly. It seemed that Wang Jianwei would quickly adapt to the rules of the doomsday. Chapter 13 Rejecting Temptation. In the living room, Murinzu stepped forward with her long legs and walked in front of Lin Fan. Can I ask you a question? What? Where are you going tomorrow? From what happened just now, Murinzu could already see that Lin Fan was the leader of this 4-person team. She and Murin Shan currently did not have much ability to survive. If they could follow Lin Fan's team, it would obviously be much better than the 2 sisters acting alone. Murinzu's question made Lin Fan smile in her heart, but on the surface she replied calmly, we will go to Xiaonan District Prison first. Go to prison? Murinzu was slightly stunned. Lin Fan briefly explained to Murinzu the reason for going to prison. After listening, Murinzu could not help but admire Lin Fan even more. She did not expect Lin Fan to have such a brilliant plan. Can my sister Anna go with you? Murenzhu clenched her jade hands lightly and looked at Lin Fan with some expectation. It would be fine if she did not know about the zombie tide, but now that she knew about it, she felt that with just her and Murenzhan, there was no chance at all to go to the army to find her father's comrades. Even from Lin Fan's description, the army's site is not necessarily a safe area. Of course, you are welcome to join. Lin Fan smiled slightly. Murenzhu and Murenzhan both have great potential. As long as nothing unexpected happens, these two sisters will become strong sooner or later. How can they miss it? After chatting for a while, Murenzhu took Murenzhan back to the room and asked Lin Fan and the other four to find a room to rest. There are more than 10 guest rooms in this villa, so they can sleep however they want. Are we going to rest too? Zhou Zhen looked at Liu Yun. Although Liu Yun was not as pretty as Murenzhu, the evil fire in his body had already burned, and he needed to find Liu Yun to vent it. Go to your own, Liu Yun frowned and replied in an unhappy tone. When she said this, she glanced at Lin Fan from the corner of her eye. Zhou Zhen noticed Liu Yun's eyes and was very angry. He secretly cursed Liu Yun as a bitch. After a cold snort, he did not delay any more. He found a room and sat on the bed to solve it himself. With Lin Fan and Wang Jianwei here, he didn't have the courage to use force on Liu Yun. Everyone, take a good rest. We have to continue our journey tomorrow morning. It won't be easy when we get to the prison. Lin Fan knew very well that a place like a prison, whether all the people inside turned into zombies or there were still humans alive, was a very dangerous place. Before the doomsday, criminals did not follow the rules and went to prison, let alone after the doomsday. Wang Jianwei nodded and also found a room to rest. Lin Fan glanced at Liu Yun, without saying anything else, and turned to the room opposite. After seeing Lin Fan enter the room, Liu Yun hesitated for a moment, and then went to another room. How can an innate evolver start evolving faster? Lin Fan sat on the bed, frowning and thinking. Murenzhu has a mutagenic factor in her body, but it has not yet started to evolve, and needs an external force to stimulate it. After thinking for a while, Lin Fan reluctantly came to a conclusion that sounded more reasonable. That is, fighting. Or, the explosion of extreme potential is also fine. Dong dong. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Who? Lin Fan got out of bed and walked towards the door. Lin Fan. It's me. Liu Yun's voice came from outside the door. Lin Fan didn't think much and opened the door. What's the matter? Can I go in and talk? Liu Yun glanced into the room. Before Lin Fan could answer, Liu Yun had already taken a step. Walking into the room, she looked at Lin Fan with affection and said, Lin Fan, I was wrong about what happened before. I shouldn't have said that to you. I solemnly apologize to you. Please forgive me, okay? You think too much? I don't take those things to heart at all. There is no question of forgiveness or not. Lin Fan shook his head indifferently. Now he is no longer the simple and ignorant boy in the last life. He really doesn't even care about some insignificant people and things. When Liu Yun heard this, a smile appeared on her face, and then she looked into Lin Fan's eyes and said, I want to be with you. If you want, we can do it any time. As she spoke, she pulled her clothes, revealing a piece of white, and made a gesture to offer her body. She felt that the only thing she could trade with Lin Fan was her body. You can go out now. However, facing Liu Yun's temptation, Lin Fan smiled coldly. As long as you don't commit suicide on purpose, you can go with me. There is no need to do these fancy things, but if you commit suicide on purpose, don't blame me for being rude. Liu Yun couldn't help but be stunned by these words. She didn't expect Lin Fan to refuse her. But Lin Fan had said so much, and she didn't have the face to stay in this room any longer. I know what to do, Liu Yun responded and walked out with a red face. Lin Fan closed the door, returned to the bed, and began to rest. This night was relatively peaceful for Lin Fan and his friends, and no zombies came to disturb them. But for the outside world, it was a purgatory on Earth. Zombies kept attacking humans, and various conflicts were also taking place between humans, fighting for food and water sources, and it was a mess. By now, everyone who was alive understood one thing: the end of the world is really coming. One night passed quickly. In the early morning, before it was completely light, Lin Fan and his friends got up and gathered in the living room. The two sisters Murenzhu and Murenzhan had already changed into sportswear and packed some items they would use in their backpacks. Eat something first, and then we'll leave. Lin Fan gave Wang Jianwei a look, and Wang Jianwei immediately opened his backpack, took out some bread and mineral water from it, and handed them to Murinzu and Murinshan. The group soon ate and drank enough, and Lin Fan waved his hand. "Let's go." After leaving the villa, Lin Fan glanced at Zhou Jun. "You can drive, right?" "Yes," Zhou Jun nodded expressionlessly. "Then you and Liu Yun drive a car and follow us," Lin Fan said and walked towards Murinzu. "Give me the car keys, I'll drive." "Okay." Murinzu did not hesitate and immediately took out the Porsche keys and handed them to Lin Fan. Although Liu Yun was a little dissatisfied with Lin Fan's arrangement, she didn't want to stay in the same car with Zhou Jun, but she didn't dare to express any rebuttal, so she could only sit in the co-pilot seat next to Zhou Jun. "Let's go." After Lin Fan and the other three got into the Porsche, he said to Zhou Jun, stepped on the accelerator, and the car shut out. Zhou Jun didn't dare to fall behind, and hurriedly drove behind the Porsche, fearing that he would be left too far behind. Chapter 14 Murinzu begins evolution. When the two cars drove down from the hillside, the sky was already bright. Some of the people who were still alive in the villa saw the car outside and frantically asked for help. Now there were zombies guarding outside their doors. They didn't dare to go out at all. They could only hope that someone outside would rescue them. Lin Fan ignored all this. He didn't want to be a savior, and it was impossible for him to save everyone's lives. After leaving the Donggangwon Villa district, the car went straight to the Xianyitun district prison. Although the road was not smooth, after 2 hours of running around, they finally arrived outside the gate of the Xianyitun district prison. The high walls of the prison are really a unique advantage in resisting zombies. Wang Jianwei looked at the wall that was more than 10 meters high and sighed slightly. "Haha, let's go and deal with the zombies outside the gate first. Only after we deal with them can we enter the prison smoothly." Lin Fan smiled faintly. After opening the car door and walking out, Lin Fan held the axe in his hand, glanced at Zhou Jun and Wang Jianwei, and said, "Come with me to kill the zombies." Wang Jianwei nodded in agreement. He knew that he couldn't always rely on Lin Fan. He also had to have the strength to deal with zombies. No matter how terrifying the zombies were, he had to grit his teeth and face them. "What did you say? Kill the zombies together?" Zhou Jun's face changed drastically, and he subconsciously refused. "We are not as powerful as you. You can deal with the zombies over there. Why do you have to drag us over there?" He felt his legs weak when he saw the ugly faces of the zombies. How could he have the courage to kill the zombies? Lin Fan stared at Zhou Jun, picked up the axe and shook it. "Of course you can choose not to go, but this axe may not agree." From Lin Fan's eyes, Zhou Jun felt a strong killing intent again, and he was so scared that he took 2 steps back and said with a trembling voice, "I will go." He knew how strong Lin Fan was, and he could never be Lin Fan's opponent. Lin Fan's eyes narrowed slightly, and he ignored Zhou Jun, holding the axe in his hand and walked out first. Seeing this, Wang Jianwei took a deep breath, followed behind with his head held high. Zhou Jun had no choice but to bite the bullet and go forward. "Remember, to kill the zombies, you must attack the head," Lin Fan reminded him and swung his axe. "Go ahead." As soon as the voice fell, Lin Fan rushed directly into the zombie group, swung the axe quickly, and chopped a zombie on the head, and then pulled out the axe and chopped another zombie. Murinzu and Murinshan saw this scene, and their beautiful eyes were full of surprise. They didn't see it with their own eyes when they dealt with the zombies in the villa last night, not to mention that there were only a few zombies in the villa, but there were no less than 50 zombies in front of them. Facing 50 zombies, he still dared to rush in and kill them. This was not only courageous, but also required strong strength. In fact, Lin Fan did this to attract the attention of the zombies. Only in this way, Wang Jianwei and Zhou Jun will not be targeted by zombies, and can they find lone zombies outside to deal with. Lin Fan does not care whether Zhou Jun's strength can be improved, but he cares whether Wang Jianwei's strength can be improved. If Wang Jianwei can adapt quickly, then when he encounters an animal with mutagenic factors later, the extracted mutagenic factors can also be considered to be injected into Wang Jianwei's body. Ka. With his swift speed and flexible steps, Lin Fan shuttled between the zombies, using his axe and dagger together. Every attack would be accompanied by the zombies falling to the ground. Roar. The 2 lone zombies noticed Wang Jianwei and Zhou Jun, opened their mouths and let out unpleasant roars, and walked towards them respectively. Wang Jianwei held the machete tightly with both hands. When the zombie pounced on him, he quickly imitated Lin Fan's appearance and dodged to the side, leaving the zombie empty. Then, he went around behind the zombie, raised the machete with both hands, and chopped the zombie's head fiercely. Ka. The machete hit the zombie's head, and there was a sound of the skull cracking. Rancid blood spurted out, and a lot of it was stained on Wang Jianwei. Although the blood was extremely disgusting and smelled extremely rancid, Wang Jianwei was quite excited at this moment. Because he did it, overcame the fear in his heart, and successfully killed a zombie. This guy's psychological quality is quite good. Lin Fan has been observing Wang Jianwei's process of killing zombies. He found that Wang Jianwei is teachable. Many people don't have the courage and guts to face zombies at the beginning of the doomsday, let alone kill zombies calmly like this. Wang Jianwei can do this, which shows that his psychological quality is very good. Only in this way can he adapt to the doomsday as quickly as possible. Awesome. Wang Jianwei took a deep breath, quickly put away his excitement, and continued to hold the knife to deal with the next zombie. Roar. In front of Zhou Jun, the zombie rushed over quickly and opened his mouth to bite. At this moment, Zhou Jun was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. His eyes were wide open. How could he have the courage to deal with the zombies? He turned around and ran back. The zombies heard the sound and chased after him, following Zhou Jun closely. Bang! Suddenly, his foot was tripped, and the whole person flew out, fell flat on his face, and even the knife in his hand fell out of his hand and fell to the ground. Just at this time, the zombies also caught up from behind and pounced on him again. Help! Zhou Jun shouted in fear. Ka. Before the zombies completely pounced on him, a white light flashed quickly, and the zombie's head actually flew up directly. However, the zombie's body still pressed down, pressing on Zhou Jun, and the rotten blood on the neck kept flowing out, staining Zhou Jun's clothes with a foul smell. Zhou Jun couldn't help vomiting. After vomiting, he looked up and realized that the zombie's head was cut off just now, and it was Muringzu who came to help. Moreover, the knife in Muringzu's hand was the one he dropped. Sister, you killed the zombie. Muring Shen opened her mouth in surprise. She hadn't reacted just now, and she didn't expect Muringzu to rush out to kill the zombie. In fact, at that moment just now, Muringzu didn't know where she got the courage from. She always felt that there was a force accumulating in her body, and she would feel very uncomfortable if she didn't burst out. So, she chose to take action and successfully killed the zombie. Lin Fan's eyes fell on Muringzu, and the ring began to read Muringzu's data. Species, human strength. 2 speed. 2 reaction. 2 evolutionary status, evolving. Although the evolution has not been completed, it has finally started. Seeing the data read out by the ring, Lin Fan had a smile in his eyes. Once Muringzu became an evolver, he would have an extra left and right arm. This is definitely a good thing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Entering the Prison. Crack. Crack. Lin Fan swung the axe in his hand quickly, and the dagger kept stabbing out, and the heads of the zombies exploded one after another. As a first-level evolver, as long as he was not surrounded by zombies and died, there would be basically no problem. After all, these zombies were ordinary zombies and had not evolved. While Lin Fan was killing everyone, Wang Jianwei also killed 2 zombies again. After a while, the prison gate was full of zombie corpses. Jianwei, you did a good job. Lin Fan walked in front of Wang Jianwei and patted Wang Jianwei on the shoulder. Wang Jianwei smiled. Although he knew that there was still a big gap between him and Lin Fan, he was very satisfied with the result. The two walked back to Muringzu and the others. Lin Fan glanced at Zhou Jun, who was in a mess, and said lightly, "You don't even have the courage to face zombies. What use do you think you are?" Zhou Jun was still a little frightened and looked absent-minded. Being looked at by Lin Fan like this, he was almost scared to the point of kneeling on the ground with weak legs. He didn't dare to speak at all. In fact, when Zhou Jun was in danger, even if Lin Fan couldn't rush over in time, he could throw out the dagger to kill the zombies, but he wouldn't do that. Because Zhou Jun didn't even have the courage to face the zombies, he only knew to hide behind. For such a person, it would be a waste of air if he was alive, and it would be fine if he died. Lin Fan looked at Muringzu and praised with a smile, "You can be so decisive and so fast in killing zombies for the first time. You are really as good as a man." Murengzu also smiled. There are still many things to learn. Please give me more advice in the future. Lin Fan's performance is very strong, as long as you are not blind. She is not the kind of unreasonable lady, but has very good character and knows how to ask questions. It is a fact that Lin Fan is better than her, and she naturally has something to learn. No problem. Lin Fan nodded and looked back at the prison gate. There must be a lot of zombies in this prison. When you go in later, be careful and follow me closely. The prison in Xianyang district is the largest prison in Jiangnan city and even in several surrounding cities. It is said that the number of prisoners held in it is no less than 5,000, and it is divided into 4 areas, A, B, C, D. Area A is where prison guards and other staff live. Areas B and C hold some ordinary prisoners, the type who have not committed serious crimes. As for Area D, it has been used to hold serious criminals and death row prisoners since the construction of this prison. In other words, the prisoners in Area D are all ruthless people, and none of them are easy to deal with. Lin Fan's main target is Area A, where prison guards and staffs A, and there must be guns. Although the surviving prison guards will have some guns, it is impossible for all prison guards to be alive. Take all your things with you. After we go in, we may have to stay in there for several days before we come out, Lin Fan reminded. The first week must be spent in prison, so as to avoid the tide of zombies. After they put on their backpacks, Lin Fan waved his hand and walked in front of the prison gate. Murengzu, Murengshan, Liu Yun followed closely, and finally Zhou Jun and Wang Jianwei. The outbreak of the doomsday yesterday caused a great chaos in the prison. Some prisoners even escaped. So that the prison gate was not completely locked, leaving a large gap. When the group walked into the prison, Wang Jianwei and others were shocked by the scene in front of them. They didn't expect that there were so many zombies in this prison. There were at least thousands of zombies swaying outside. From this, it can be imagined that the situation in the cell will not be much better, and the number of zombies will be even more terrifying. Roar. The arrival of Lin Fan and others naturally attracted the attention of the zombies. Fortunately, many zombies were separated by the iron net and could not break through the iron net to get out. Only some zombies wandering outside could attack them. Wandering zombies are easier to deal with. You can also try your hand now. Lin Fan tilted his head and glanced at Murengzu behind him. Murengzu is already in an evolutionary state. It should be easier to stimulate potential and speed up the evolution in battle. Yes, Murengzu would naturally not refuse Lin Fan's suggestion. She could feel a desire to fight in her body. The zombies that looked scary in her eyes did not seem so scary from now on. Go! Lin Fan waved his hand and rushed forward with an axe, chopped a zombie's head head-on, and split the head in the middle. Murengzu came to a zombie wearing a prison guard uniform with a machete. Although her movements could not be more agile than Lin Fan, she was in an evolutionary state and was still stronger than ordinary people in all aspects. She saw the opportunity when the zombie pounced on her, chopped it horizontally with a machete in her hand, and the blade split the zombie's head in half, and the rotten blood spilled all over the ground. Wang Jianwei, with his previous combat experience, was much easier to deal with zombies this time, and even used a lot of evasion skills. After all, when he was in college, he was a member of the track and field team, and in some aspects he was much better than a waste like Zhou Jun. Roar! Roar! The zombies kept running towards Lin Fan and the other two. Their roars were piercing, and the stench of decay filled the air. It would not be an exaggeration to describe Lin Fan's absolute slaughter of these zombies, but since he finally had such an opportunity, he did not kill too many, and deliberately left some for Murengzu and Wang Jianwei to practice. 10 minutes later, 70 or 80 zombies all fell to the ground. Murengzu was sweating slightly, and she did not look embarrassed, but had a kind of athletic beauty, which was extremely charming. Looking at Murengzu killing the zombies just now, Liu Yun clenched her hands tightly. Even if she was jealous, she had to admit that she was really not as good as Murengzu, and others were indeed better than her. This also made her determined to find an opportunity to kill zombies to exercise her abilities. Murengshan was still young, so she didn't think so much. As for Zhou Jun, he undoubtedly enjoyed the feeling of being protected. He wished that all the zombies would be solved by Lin Fan and the others, so that he could be safer. Lin Fan, Area A seems to be at the innermost part. If we want to go there, it may not be that convenient, Murengzu frowned. Of the 4 major areas in the prison, Area A is relatively at the innermost part, and Area D is in front of Area A. Areas B and C are at the front. Before the Doomsday, areas B and C were the two areas with the most prisoners. After the Doomsday, areas B and C naturally became the hardest hit areas, and the number of zombies was also quite large. "We'll go through the underground passage," Lin Fan said calmly. Chapter 16 Underground Passage. Underground Passage. Murenzhu and the others were slightly surprised. Yes, Lin Fan nodded, took a look at the ground of Area B and Area C, and said, "These prisons usually have underground passages. If we go through the underground passages, it will be much safer. There are too many zombies on the ground. If they are all evolvers, there will be no problem. But for now, even Murenzhu has not completed the evolution, and he is the only evolver. He can't take so many people through Area B and Area C from the ground. Then should we go to the underground passage of Area B or the underground passage of Area C?" Wang Jianwei asked curiously. "It's the same. Let's go to Area C after all. The number of people detained in these two areas is not much different, and the number of zombies is estimated to be similar," Lin Fan pondered. Lin Fan made a random choice. Even if there are more zombies in Area C than in Area B, he can only blame himself for his bad luck. Of course, they don't want to have a direct conflict with the zombies, but just use the underground passage. Having made a decision, Lin Fan and others did not delay anymore and walked towards the prison in Area C. The zombies in the iron net kept roaring and trying to pounce on them, but unfortunately, the iron net blocked the zombies from getting close. Area C covers an area of about 2,000 to 3,000 square meters. This is a two-story large building with a main gate and two small doors on both sides. The glass of the main gate is quite special. Standing outside, you can't see the situation inside clearly. But you don't have to think about it to know that the number of zombies behind the main gate will not be less than the number of zombies behind the two small doors. Lin Fan led Murenzhu and others to the small door on the left. This is an iron door locked from the inside. If you want to get in, you have to knock the iron door open. You step back first, I'll open the door, Lin Fan waved to Murenzhu and others. There is no telling how many zombies are behind the iron gate. Even if there are not many, the sound of breaking the door will attract zombies. For safety reasons, it is best to let them step back. Murenzhu and others stepped back about 5 meters. Lin Fan retracted his gaze, stared at the iron gate, and kicked it up. Bang! A dull sound spread out. Under the force of Lin Fan's kick, the iron gate broke open with a dull sound, which surprised Murenzhu and others. They didn't expect Lin Fan to kick the iron gate open with one kick. Ordinary people would naturally not be able to do it, but Lin Fan is a first-level evolver, and his strength data is 1 or 2 times higher than that of ordinary people. It is normal for this kick to kick the iron gate open. Roar. The moment the iron gate opened, the roar of zombies came out. The 3 zombies who were the first to bear the brunt quickly rushed towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan retracted his feet and stepped back, and the axe chopped continuously, and the 3 zombies immediately fell to the ground with their heads blooming. "Come in quickly, we have to rush to the underground passage before the next wave of zombies comes," Lin Fan turned around quickly and said. Fortunately for him, there were not too many zombies gathered behind this iron gate, just the 3 he had just solved. Although the noise here would attract many zombies in Area C, as long as they entered the underground passage before the zombies arrived. They could use the door of the underground passage to block the zombies. Hearing Lin Fan's voice, Murenzhu and the others did not hesitate and rushed forward. Roar. When they passed through the iron gate and entered the corridor of Area C, the zombies that were originally in the passage rushed towards them in an instant. "That's the entrance to the underground passage. You go down first, I'll stop the zombies," Lin Fan said quickly. The entrance to the underground passage is closer to the zombies. If he doesn't stop them first, the zombies will crowd in and prevent them from entering the underground passage normally. It's okay to just deal with the zombies in front of them, but I'm afraid that the noise here will attract more zombies. What's more, it's not certain what the specific situation of the underground passage is. As soon as he finished speaking, without waiting for Murenzhu and others to answer, Lin Fan rushed up with an axe in his hand, and with one axe, the head of the zombie in front flew up. "Let's go down quickly. Don't let Xianfan block for too long," Wang Jianwei said with a serious face. "Let's go." Murenzhu nodded lightly. If they stayed to help Lin Fan fight the zombies now, they would become a burden to Lin Fan. The best thing to do was to go to the underground passage and wait. Murenzhu and her companions were very fast. In less than 10 seconds, they all entered the entrance of the underground passage. Lin Fan quickly dealt with the zombies in front of him. Seeing that there were more zombies coming at the end of the corridor, it was enough to show that there were quite a lot of infected people in Area C. Lin Fan retracted his gaze and did not hesitate. He turned around and rushed to the entrance of the underground passage and disappeared in this corridor. There was no idea how many zombies there were here. There was no need to waste time with them. It was a wise decision to leave as soon as possible. Rushing down the stairs quickly, Lin Fan came to the basement. As soon as he came down, he saw Murenzhu holding a machete and dealing with a zombie. Xiaofan, is everything okay? Wang Jianwei looked back at Lin Fan and asked. No problem, Lin Fan shook his head, but we have to leave as soon as possible. The zombies above will catch up soon. Well, the zombies in this basement have been cleared by Murenzhu, and the passage door is over there. Wang Jianwei pointed to the opposite side, where there was an old-looking iron door. Then hurry over there. The group ran quickly and came to the iron door. Roar. At this time, the zombies in the passage had already appeared at the stairs, and the roar spread in the basement, which was extremely harsh. It's still locked here, which means no one has entered. The passage should be safe, right? Wang Jianwei analyzed after taking a look at the iron door lock. Although this side is locked, it can't be guaranteed that the other side is also locked. It's better to be careful. Lin Fan put his hand on the lock and quickly pushed the door open. There was indeed a very long passage in front of him, but, as Lin Fan guessed, the other side of the passage was not locked, and zombies had already poured into the passage. Come in first and close the door, otherwise there will be zombies attacking from both sides, and the situation will be even worse. As he spoke, Lin Fan took the lead in entering the underground passage, followed by Murenzhu and others. While Wang Jianwei stayed behind to close the door. A few seconds after the door was closed, the sound of zombies hitting each other could be heard from behind. Roar. At this time, the 7 or 8 zombies in the underground passage were also attracted by Lin Fan and others, and walked over quickly with their rotten bodies. Let me do it. Just as Lin Fan was about to rush up to deal with these zombies, a voice came from behind. Then, Murenzhu stepped forward quickly, with light steps, and in a blink of an eye, she came to the zombies, holding the machete in her jade hand, and chopped them fiercely. Chapter 17 A Prison Guard. It seems that the speed has improved. Lin Fan noticed that Murenzhu's running speed was obviously much faster than normal, and immediately used the ring to read Murenzhu's data. Species, human strength. 2 speed. 3 reaction. 3 evolutionary status, evolving. Sure enough, there has been some improvement. Lin Fan's mind was enlightened. People like Murenzhu, who have mutagenic factors in their bodies, can gradually become stronger during the evolution process. However, for acquired evolvers like him, there is no change during evolution. This is also a slight difference between the two. Murenzhu is agile and flexibly avoids the zombies' attacks. She kills one with one knife. In less than 2 minutes, all the zombies in the corridor fell to the ground. Murenzhu, you are too powerful. Wang Jianwei couldn't help but praise. Sister, great. Murenzhu gave Murenzhu a thumbs up. Murenzhu smiled slightly and shook her head. It's just practice makes perfect. Overcome the fear in your heart and calmly avoid their attacks, and you can basically kill them. Yes, although these zombies are similar to humans in all aspects, they are ultimately not intelligent. At present, they can only attack rigidly. The moment you avoid their attacks is the best time to kill them. Lin Fan nodded. Zhou Jun stood behind and didn't care. He didn't care about these at all, as long as he didn't kill the zombies. There should be a lot of zombies over there in the underground passage. You wait for me in here first, and I'll go over to see the situation, Lin Fan added. Shall I go with you? Murenzhu suddenly suggested. She didn't know why, but she wanted to kill zombies, as if killing zombies could make her experience fun. Going alone will make you less targeted and less likely to attract the attention of zombies. Lin Fan glanced at Murenzhu and said, besides, it cannot be ruled out that zombies will come in again. Your strength is very good. With you staying here, everyone will be safer, okay? Murenzhu nodded. Seeing this, Lin Fan didn't hesitate and quickly walked towards the end of the passage. After walking out of the passage, he looked to the left and right. The first thing he saw was a group of zombies wandering on the left, and only a few scattered zombies on the right. He turned right and ran towards the zombies. The first zombie noticed the sound and was about to pounce on Lin Fan. However, before it could pounce, the axe in Lin Fan's hand had already landed on its head. After knocking the zombie down, Lin Fan quickly moved to the other two zombies, and the axe and dagger were used together. The rotten blood spurted on the wall, staining a large area red. Because he made less noise, the group of zombies on the left did not notice it, so they could continue forward with confidence. A minute later, Lin Fan came to a room that looked like a storage room. This room was indeed very messy, with some wood, some rusty iron, and all kinds of messy things. However, after a glance, Lin Fan saw a sign on the door opposite, marked with an A zone. There was no doubt that the door behind that led to A zone. Lin Fan was about to go back and call Murinzu and others over, but he suddenly heard a faint breathing sound. Level 1 evolvers are also much stronger than ordinary people in terms of perception. Although the breathing sound is very subtle, it still cannot escape his perception. He walked towards the left front, and the breathing sound came from there. In front of him was a somewhat old cabinet, similar to a wardrobe. Lin Fan said to the wardrobe, "Come out." 3 seconds passed, and there was no movement. Lin Fan raised the axe in his hand and said again, "Don't blame me if you don't come out, stand back." The wardrobe door opened, and a man in a prison guard uniform appeared. The man looked about 30 years old, with an ordinary appearance, but there was a sense of determination between his eyebrows. However, the blood on his body made him look a little embarrassed. Lin Fan did not retreat, just looked at the other party. The other party seemed a little nervous. Seeing the axe raised in Lin Fan's hand, a sharp flash flashed in his eyes. He touched his waist and pulled out a pistol and pointed it at Lin Fan. "Back off." Zhang Yuanzhang held the pistol, the dark muzzle pointed at Lin Fan's head. "Don't force me to shoot." It's no wonder that Zhang Yuanzhang reacted like this, mainly because when the doomsday broke out yesterday, the whole prison was in complete chaos. Not only were there zombies eating people, but there were also some uninfected prisoners who attacked the prison guards. He saw with his own eyes that a prison guard escaped the encirclement of zombies, but was caught by several prisoners and tortured to death. If he hadn't escaped quickly, his end would not have been much better. Therefore, up to now, whether it was zombies or people, he remained extremely vigilant, especially since Lin Fan was holding weapons such as an axe and a dagger in his hands. He had to treat it more seriously. First of all, you won't shoot me, and secondly, you may not be able to hit me even if you shoot. Facing Zhang Yuanzhang's words, Lin Fan did not have any emotional changes, and said very calmly, while putting down the axe in his hand. He could see that Zhang Yuanzhang was still rational, perhaps because Zhang Yuanzhang had always been a prison guard before the doomsday. Of course, if Zhang Yuanzhang really dared to shoot, he would definitely stop him before Zhang Yuanzhang pulled the trigger. At such a close distance, with his speed, he could definitely do it. Lin Fan guessed correctly. Zhang Yuanzhang was a man with a strong sense of justice. After graduating from the police academy, he became a prison guard. He has been working diligently and enlightened many prisoners. Even though the end of the world has come, he still remembers that he is a policeman. How could he shoot and kill innocent people? Why did you come here? There are zombies everywhere. How did you get in? Although Zhang Yuanzhang ignored Lin Fan's last sentence, he put down his pistol after seeing Lin Fan put down the axe, and asked curiously. He had seen the horror of zombies and knew that the prison had completely fallen. Lin Fan's clothes clearly showed that he was not a prisoner. He must have come from outside. "I came here to do my own things. There is no need to discuss this for the time being." Lin Fan glanced at Zhang Yuanzhang. "You wait here first. I have a few companions over there. I will call them over." Companions? Zhang Yuanzhang was stunned. He was about to ask something else, but Lin Fan didn't give him a chance to ask. He turned around and went back. Soon, Lin Fan returned to the passage. "Zio Fan, how is it? Can we go to Area A?" Wang Jianwei asked when he saw Lin Fan appear. "Yes," Lin Fan nodded, "and I also saw a prison guard." Chapter 18 Waiting Together. Prison guard? Alive. The moment Lin Fan finished speaking, Zhou Jun reacted the most, and seemed very excited. "Why? You hope the other party is dead?" Lin Fan frowned. "Of course not." Zhou Jun shook his head and said, "I was just surprised. I didn't expect that there was a prison guard alive. The prison guard must have a gun. If we are with the prison guard, it will be safer." He said this, but in fact, what he thought in his heart was that if there was a prison guard alive, he might be able to find an opportunity to contact the police outside through the prison guard. He still held hope for the official side. The most important thing was that he had had enough of this kind of life, And he must find an opportunity to let Lin Fan know how powerful he was. Otherwise, if it continued like this, he would always be bullied. Lin Fan was too lazy to think about what Zhou Jun thought. He ignored Zhou Jun's long speech and said, "Let's go and meet up with the prison guard first, and then go to Area 8 together." Okay, Murenzhu and others naturally had no objection. "Let's go." Lin Fan gave a look and walked in front to lead the way. The group soon arrived at the entrance of the passage. When Lin Fan was about to ask everyone to go to the right, Zhou Jun's foot suddenly kicked a piece of rusty iron sheet against the wall. This kick not only made a sound, but also kicked the rusty iron sheet out of the passage and hit the opposite wall. Roar! The spread of the sound instantly shifted the attention of the zombies on the left to this side, and the roar was extremely harsh. Damn, Wang Jianwei couldn't help but change his expression. He didn't expect Zhou Jun to cause so much trouble for everyone. Murenzhu's face was not very good either. There were many zombies gathered on the left, and the exact number was unclear. Moreover, it can be imagined that such a movement would also attract zombies from the underground passage, and the situation would become even worse at that time. Even Liu Yun cursed Zhou Jun several times in her heart. She felt that she was really blind before. Even if Zhou Jun was rich, he should not have had a relationship with such a cowardly man. Hurry up and go to the right. Go to the end and you will see a utility room. The prison guard is in the utility room. I will hold the zombies. Lin Fan did not have time to deal with Zhou Jun, the idiot, and quickly arranged, also, let the prison guard open that door. If I am not here in 2 minutes, you will go to Area A first. Xiao Fan, you have to be careful. Wang Jianwei knew that this was not the time to be sentimental, and he warned with a serious face. We will wait for you together, Murenzhu said. Go. Lin Fan nodded, and rushed towards the crowded zombies with an axe and a dagger at the same time. Seeing Lin Fan's back facing the danger, Murenzhu was slightly touched, but she quickly retracted her gaze and ran to the right with Wang Jianwei and others. She is a rich girl who has lived a princess-like life since she was a child, but she is definitely not a brainless woman. On the contrary, she has always been many times better than her peers. This excellence is not only reflected in academic performance, but also in psychological quality. Such a woman knows very well what to do and what not to do. Now, for them, escaping quickly is the biggest help to Lin Fan. Kaka! Kaka! Lin Fan rushed to the front of the zombies, swinging his axe continuously, and keeping the dagger in his hand to prevent zombies from approaching. After all, this passage is not very spacious. There are many zombies in front of him, and there are more zombies gathering in the passage. He has to remain vigilant. Roar! The roar of the zombies is getting more and more piercing. The whole passage is filled with a rotten stench, and the blood is dyeing the ground red. After Lin Fan chopped the zombies to the ground, he looked for an opportunity to pile up the zombie bodies as much as possible, so as to effectively block the zombies' attack. Unfortunately, the number of zombies is getting bigger and bigger, and it is difficult to have time to pile them up to the point where they can be blocked. Utility room. Murenzhu, Wang Jianwei and others have already had a brief acquaintance with Zhang Yuan's hen. I don't object to you going to Area A, but I have to tell you that the situation in Area A is just as bad now. There are not only zombies, but also some prisoners. Zhang Yuan's hen said in a serious tone. The prisoners alive in Area A are all from Area D. They have been sentenced to death and have long looked down upon life and death. Now that the doomsday has broken out, there is no longer any legal constraint on them. Do you understand what I mean? Zhang Yuan's Hang really didn't expect that there were several girls in Lin Fan's team. The male prisoners in the prison were already hungry wolves, not to mention that Murenzhu, Murenshan and Liu Yun were all very good looking. If they were seen by them, something more terrible than facing zombies might happen. Those guys don't care whether you are an adult or not. Then do you understand that if we don't go to Area A now, we may not even have the chance to survive? Murenzhu stared at Zhang Yuan's Hang with her beautiful eyes. The zombies in the underground passage are coming down continuously. Now it's all up to Lin Fan to hold on. What reason do we have to continue to delay here? Facing Murenzhu's eyes and firm tone, Zhang Yuan's Hang admitted that he was moved. At this time, it seems that they have no choice. If they don't go to Area A, they will be surrounded and killed by zombies. Going to Area A, although there are dangers, at least there is a glimmer of hope, which is better than dying now. I'll open the door right away. Zhang Yuan's Hang reached into his pocket and quickly took out a key. The lock of this passage door is relatively strong. Without the key, It is not easy to break it by force. You guys get ready, I'll go see what's going on over there with Lin Fan. After Muranzu finished speaking, she left the utility room without looking back. Muranshan wanted to go with them, but Wang Jianwei stopped her. Don't go, trust Xiaofan and your sister. Hearing this, Muranshan calmed down. She had no strength, and going with them would only become a burden. Staying here was the wisest choice. In the passage, Lin Fan was still swinging his axe to deal with the zombies. From just now to now, in such a short time, he had killed a full 50 zombies. However, the zombies were still pouring in. He couldn't judge the situation on Wang Jianwei's side. If they didn't open the door and he retreated, then these zombies would catch up with him, and it would be even more dangerous to be crowded in the utility room. Lin Fan, the prison guard, took out a key to open the door. Come back quickly, we're going to Area A. Suddenly, Muranzu's voice came from behind. Lin Fan didn't hesitate at all, stepped back, turned around and ran towards Muranzu. Let's go. Chapter 19 Situation in Area A. The moment she saw Lin Fan running towards her, Muranzu's heart was touched again. She found that this boy who looked similar to her could remain extremely calm no matter what he faced. The most important thing was that Lin Fan was indeed very strong. Staying with such a person seemed to make people feel very safe. Running to Muranzu's side, Lin Fan didn't think much, subconsciously reached out and pulled Muranzu's hand, and quickly left the passage. The moment her hand was pulled, Muranzu felt like she was electrocuted. This was the first man who pulled her hand like this since she knew that there was a difference between men and women, except for her father. In the past, or in other words, if it was someone else, she would definitely shake her hand off. But when this man was Lin Fan, she didn't do this, even though she and Lin Fan had only known each other for less than 2 days. Lin Fan didn't know what Muranzu was thinking. He pulled Muranzu and ran quickly, and soon returned to the utility room. This bastard, Zhou Jun, saw Lin Fan holding Muranzu's hand, and he was so angry. Wang Jianwei gave Lin Fan an admiring look. That was the most famous campus beauty of Jiangnan University. Normally, he didn't even have the chance to look at her twice. As a result, Lin Fan had already held her hand in less than a day. If Muranzu's suitors knew about this, they would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood. Of course, the premise is that those suitors are still alive. Let's go quickly, there are a lot of zombies chasing us from behind. Lin Fan let go of Muranzu's little hand and said calmly. Roar. As soon as he finished speaking, he could hear the zombie roar coming from the direction of the passage becoming more and more shrill. Zhang Yuanzhang took a deep breath. Although he didn't want to return to Area A, he had no choice now because of the situation. He stretched out his hand to open the door of the passage, and a zombie suddenly pounced on him. Zhang Yuanzhang was shocked. He didn't expect that there was a zombie hiding behind the door, and at such a close distance, he had no time to avoid it. Just as the zombie was about to pounce on him, a dagger stabbed from behind and pierced the zombie's head. Remember next time, be careful when opening the door, Lin Fan reminded. A layer of dense beads of sweat appeared on Zhang Yuanzhang's forehead. He was really scared by that just now. He nodded quickly and thanked Lin Fan. Roar. There were also many zombies in the passage connecting Area A. Hearing the noise, these zombies swarmed towards Lin Fan and others. Lin Fan rushed forward and swung his axe continuously, and zombies fell to the ground one after another. With Lin Fan charging in front to resist, Wang Jianwei and others quickly passed through the door and entered the passage. Bang! When the zombies behind came to the utility room, Zhang Yuanzhang closed the door without hesitation and blocked the zombies behind the door. This door is very hard, and no matter how the zombies hide it, it is impossible to break it in a short time. After locking the door, Zhang Yuanzhang looked back and saw that Lin Fan had killed all the zombies in this passage. The corner of his eye twitched. He had never seen Lin Fan's strength before, but now he saw it with his own eyes. It was incredible that one person killed more than 20 zombies in such a short time. At this moment, he suddenly realized that Lin Fan and others dared to come to the prison, and they were probably not here to die. After killing the zombies in this passage, Lin Fan did not rush out, but walked back to Zhang Yuanzhang. It's impossible to go back the same way now. We can only continue to Area A. You are the prison guard here. I think you should be very familiar with this place. I need you to provide me with some information. Lin Fan stretched out a hand to Zhang Yuanzhang. Let's get to know each other formally. My name is Lin Fan, Zhang Yuanzhang. Zhang Yuanzhang stretched out his hand and shook hands with Lin Fan, saying, "In Area A, what I know so far is that the number of zombies is definitely not as many as in areas B, C, and D, but there are surviving death row prisoners there, which is equivalent to being occupied by death row prisoners." Although Lin Fan looks very young, the strength he showed has left a deep impression in Zhang Yuanzhang's mind. People with strength are worthy of his respect and deserve his serious treatment. "How many death row prisoners are there in Area A?" Lin Fan asked. "When I escaped, there were 6, Zhang Yuanzhang thought about it and said, "They all went from Area D after all. Area D is where they are imprisoned. Do you know the current situation in Area D?" "Not sure. I think there should be death row prisoners and serious criminals who survived." "Do the 6 in Area A have guns?" Lin Fan asked again. "Yes," Zhang Yuanzhang nodded. "After they killed some prison guards, they were able to get the guns on the guards. The place where the guns are stored in this prison should also be in Area A, right?" Lin Fan asked the last question. "No," Zhang Yuanzhang shook his head and said, "Outsiders speculate that the guns will be placed where the prison guards stay. In fact, I once heard the warden say that the guns are placed in a room in Area D, but I don't know exactly how many reserves are in it." "Area D, Wang Jian, what you said with some regret. It's also very dangerous there. It seems that we can't think about getting guns, we must get them," Lin Fan said in a serious tone. "It will be much safer to have a gun on you." Lin Fan did not tell them that zombies will also mutate soon, which is the so-called evolution. When the zombies begin to evolve, for ordinary people, once the evolved zombies get close to them, they will definitely die. There is no way they can escape or defeat the evolved zombies. In this way, to deal with the evolved zombies, they can only rely on guns to shoot and kill. Don't think about going to Area D now. What we have to do now is to take over Area A, Lin Fan said. "What are you going to do?" Zhang Yuanzhang frowned. "Those were all death row prisoners. In this doomsday environment, they would kill without blinking an eye." "How many bullets are left in your gun?" Lin Fan asked. "I had already used up some when I escaped from Area A. Now there are only 2 bullets left," Zhang Yuanzhang said somewhat embarrassedly. When he fled to the utility room, he realized that he could not run forward anymore. That would only automatically give way to the zombies, so he hid in the cabinet. Thinking that there was no chance of survival, how could he have expected Lin Fan and others to appear? 2 bullets can kill 2 people at most. The other side is currently conservatively estimated to be 6 people. It is very likely that all 6 of them have guns. We can't rush in recklessly. We have to plan carefully. Lin Fan pondered and analyzed it, and soon made a decision. Chapter 20 Action Plan. Let's find a safe room first and then talk about the specific plan. Lin Fan looked outside the passage and walked forward with an axe. Zhang Yuanzhang followed behind Lin Fan, and Muranzu and others followed immediately. When they reached the end of the passage, Lin Fan took the lead to look at both sides. Although there were zombies, there were not many. After all, Area A was not a place to hold prisoners, and the number of zombies was naturally much less than that of the other 3 areas. "Lin Fan, go to the left. There are stairs to go up there," Zhang Yuanzhang whispered. "There is a room right opposite the stairs upstairs. That is the locker room for all prison guards. Those prisoners can't stay in the locker room." "Okay, then go upstairs and take a look. I'll go in front, and you guys should pay attention to follow." As he said, Lin Fan suddenly turned around and stared at Zhou Jun. "If you make some low-level mistakes again, I will personally throw you into the pile of zombies." Zhou Jun shrank his neck in fear, and dared not speak in anger. Everything he faced just now was caused by Zhou Jun, otherwise it would not have delayed so much time. Retracting his gaze, Lin Fan stepped out of the passage, then quickly rushed towards the zombies on the left, attacking with an axe and a dagger, and several zombies were killed in a blink of an eye. Seeing this, Zhang Yuanzhang and others did not delay, and followed carefully, and soon entered the stairs. The stairs were a little dark and damp, especially filled with a strong stench. Lin Fan looked down and saw that there were several zombies lying on the ground. Moreover, the heads of these zombies were blown up by bullets, not killed by other weapons. "I killed these zombies with a gun," Zhang Yuanzhang said slowly. "Good shooting," Lin Fan nodded. Although the bullets hit the zombies' heads and ended their lives, a closer look would reveal that the parts where these bullets hit the zombies' heads were actually almost the same, with very little deviation. At this level, people without some shooting skills would never be able to do it. Walking to the stairs, Lin Fan took a look and saw that the locker room Zhang Yuanzhang mentioned was right opposite. There are zombies roaming over there, be careful and don't make any noise. When Lin Fan said this, he glanced at Zhou Jun, with a warning in his eyes. Zhou Jun swallowed quietly. He had already sensed the strong killing intent in Lin Fan's eyes. He could imagine that if he made any more noise and attracted the zombies, Lin Fan would definitely get rid of him before dealing with the zombies. You go first, Lin Fan waved his hand. Zhang Yuanzhang took the lead, followed by Murongzhu and Murangshan, and then Liu Yun, Wang Jianwei and Zhou Jun. Seeing that they had safely entered the locker room, Lin Fan did not delay any further and rushed over quickly. Gently closing the door, Lin Fan glanced at everyone, then looked at Wang Jianwei, and said, Jianwei, bring out something to eat. You must be hungry after working for so long. Okay. Wang Jianwei nodded and quickly took out food from his backpack and distributed it to everyone. While eating, Lin Fan walked up to Zhang Yuanzhang and said, we don't know the specific situation here, especially where the death row prisoners are. You are the one who is most familiar with this prison. I want you to lead the way for me. Do I have the right to refuse? Zhang Yuanzhang smiled bitterly. No, Lin Fan also smiled. Either cooperate with me, or you rely on those 2 bullets and see how long you can last. I have no problem leading you, but you also know that there are only 2 bullets in my pistol. Even if I hit the opponent 100%, I can only kill 2 people. Zhang Yuanzhang spread his hands and said, how to deal with the remaining 4 people, this is a variable. It's hard to make a decision at the moment. I can only act according to circumstances. Lin Fan pondered and said, in short, I can guarantee you that I will take action against those people. I won't let you go up to resist the bullets. In the case of close range, Lin Fan is sure that he can take action before the opponent has time to shoot. As long as he takes down one of the opponents, he can get a gun. By then, with his reaction speed and the experience of shooting accumulated in his previous life, it will not be difficult to deal with the other few people. Therefore, the only thing to pay attention to is how to get close to the other party. Lin Fan, how about I go with you? Murongzhu suddenly said. What? Everyone was slightly startled. Lin Fan looked at Murongzhu, but before he could speak, he heard Murongzhu add, we can use the beauty trap to lure the other party into the trap, so that the chance of finding an opportunity to take down the other party will be greater. Sister, no, this is too dangerous. Murangshan quickly reached out and pulled Murongzhu's wrist. Murongzhu smiled slightly and said, if they can't successfully get rid of those death row prisoners, then our situation will still be very dangerous. Instead of facing a more dangerous situation at that time, it is better to let go and try now. While Murongzhu was speaking, Lin Fan used the ring to read the data again. According to the data, he found that Murongzhu's strength, speed and reaction values had all become 3. Although she has not yet completed her evolution, such values are no longer ordinary people. They are between ordinary people and first-level evolvers, and have a certain ability to protect themselves. If you two go, aren't you still unfamiliar with the situation here? Zhang Yuanzhang shook his head. He felt that as a man and a former prison guard, he could not choose to retreat when facing danger, let alone let a woman take the lead. We are currently only active in Area A. You can tell us the general situation of Area A. Besides, our goal is to let them find us so that we can get closer to them and avoid a gunfight with them, Murongzhu said. Zhang Yuanzhang was speechless for a moment. He was stunned for a moment and didn't know what to say. He could only look at Lin Fan. Lin Fan was the leader of this team, so it was more appropriate to let Lin Fan make the decision. Just do as Murongzhu said. I will go find those prisoners with her. Lin Fan nodded. Tell me about the situation in Area A, and you may also need to borrow your pistol. It's better to have 2 bullets than nothing. Hearing what Lin Fan said, Zhang Yuanzhang couldn't insist on anything, so he had to tell Lin Fan about the specific situation of Area A and the layout of those rooms. While talking, he also used the tools in the locker room to draw a rough map of Area A on the ground. Here's the gun. Zhang Yuanzhang took out a pistol and handed it to Lin Fan. Thank you. Lin Fan took the pistol and said, don't worry. I will return it to you intact and reload it with bullets. I won't let you suffer any loss, okay? Zhang Yuanzhang nodded heavily. He naturally hoped to see Lin Fan and Murongzhu's action succeed, otherwise they would have no choice but to die. Chapter 21 Zhang Hu and 6 others. Sister, you must be careful. Murangshan hugged Murongzhu. She had lost her parents, and Murongzhu was her only relative. If even Murongzhu left her, she would not have the courage to live anymore. Be good, sister will come back safely. Murengzu touched Mureng Shan's little head, her tone full of doting. Lin Fan glanced at the two sisters, and then said directly to Zhang Yuanzhang and Wang Jianwei, "I'll leave this to you. Keep an eye on Zhou Jun. If he has any deliberate actions to commit suicide, don't be polite. Don't let him harm everyone alone." Hearing Lin Fan's words, Zhou Jun couldn't help but twitch his mouth, but he didn't dare to refute anything. Zhang Yuanzhang was not familiar with Zhou Jun and didn't know what kind of person Zhou Jun was, but Wang Jianwei knew Zhou Jun very well, and he nodded in response. After explaining everything, Lin Fan walked in front of Murengzu. "Let's go, it's up to us next." Murengzu smiled slightly, very confident. The two walked out of the locker room, and Wang Jianwei immediately closed the door to prevent the zombies from finding them here. According to Zhang Yuanzhang, Area A, including the basement, is divided into 3 floors. The prison guard's office is on the 3rd floor. When Zhang Yuanzhang escaped, the prisoners were in the prison guard's office. "Wait for me here, I'll go upstairs to see the situation outside the stairs." Lin Fan took Murongsu to the stairwell, said, and then walked quietly to the 3rd floor. When he reached the staircase on the 3rd floor, he looked outside and made sure that there was no big problem, then he turned around and waved to Murongsu. Murongsu naturally understood what Lin Fan meant and walked up quickly. The prison guard office is in the middle of this floor. I looked around and there are probably less than 1 zombie wandering around this floor. It's basically impossible for us to deal with the zombies quietly. Lin Fan frowned slightly and whispered, "Why don't we just go over there openly and pretend that we don't know the prisoners are there? When dealing with zombies, it will definitely attract their attention, and then we can use the beauty trap naturally." "Okay." Murengzu said that there was no problem with Lin Fan's plan. "By the way, after we enter the prison guard office, they are likely to want to kill me. You have to pay attention to the situation on my side and act accordingly. You must remember one thing, don't do it before I do it," Lin Fan reminded. For these prisoners, Lin Fan is a waste of air if he is alive, and it is meaningful for them to keep Murengzu. Therefore, if these prisoners have no problem with their brains, they will make the correct decision. "I know," Murengzu nodded again. Zhang Yuanzhang's gun is on Lin Fan. If Lin Fan takes action first, it can maximize the smooth progress of things. After all, what she has to do at that time is just a sneak attack. In the process of the sneak attack, snatching the gun from the person she attacked was her real mission. "Let's go." Lin Fan waved his hand and took Murengzu to the prison guard's office. At the same time, 6 men were gathered in the prison guard's office. Each of these 6 men was a standard bald head, but they were very strong and looked like macho men. "Brother Hu, I think there should be zombies outside. I'm afraid it's not as safe as inside. Let's not consider going out for the time being, right?" said a man with several scars on his arm. As soon as the man spoke, the eyes of the others followed him and looked at the bald man sitting in the office chair. The bald man had a fierce face and was serious, especially on his face. There was a scar that ran through his face, which made him more fierce. The bald man's full name was Zhang Hu. He was imprisoned for malicious murder before the Doomsday outbreak. Because the circumstances were very bad, he was directly sentenced to death. Originally, there was still half a year before his execution, but he didn't expect that the Doomsday outbreak would give him a new life. Zhang Hu glanced at the 5 people and said, "The situation outside is indeed not better than here, but the food here can't last long. We will run out of food in 5 days at most. We have to go out. What's more, we haven't tasted the taste of women for so long. Don't you want to go out and get some women to accompany you?" At this point, Zhang Hu's face showed an evil smile. The 5 people laughed when they heard it. One of them rubbed his hands and nodded, "Brother Hu is right. We have been locked up for so long that we almost forgot the taste of women. We should go out and find some women. When the time comes, we can bring the women here and play with them as we please." It's a pity that the female doctor and nurse turned into zombies. If they hadn't turned into zombies, we would have been ravaged by them. It's not that there were no women in this prison before, but when the Doomsday broke out, the only 2 women were infected and turned into zombies. This is the most regrettable thing for them at present. "Brother Hu, when are we going to go out?" "Don't worry." Zhang Hu looked in the direction of Area D. "Keep an eye on the situation in Area D. Chen Xianlong and the others will also go out. We will go out when they go out, so that they can go ahead and explore the situation." Chen Xianlong, as Zhang Hu called him, was a boss in Area D before he was imprisoned. He had a great reputation in the entire Jiangnan city. He could almost be regarded as the underground king of Jiangnan City. He was originally following Chen Xianlong, but after the doomsday broke out, he took advantage of the chaos and fled to Area A. Only then could he enjoy the feeling of being the boss in Area A and no longer have to look at Chen Xianlong's face. Okay, Brother Hu, don't worry, I will keep an eye on the movement in Area D. Once I see them go out, I will notify you immediately. The man with a scar on his hand nodded, and as he spoke, he was ready to go to the window and stare closely. Click. However, before he could take a step, there was a movement outside the prison guard's office, which immediately attracted their attention and they all looked over. Outside the prison guard's office, Lin Fan brought Murengzu to the zombies. Lin Fan swung his axe and chopped off the head of a zombie. Then he turned around and chopped off the head of another zombie. Lin Fan pretended to look at the prison guard's office casually. When he saw the 6 people inside through the glass, he showed joy on his face and waved to them for help. At the same time, Murengzu also turned back to look at the prison guard's office. Murengzu's turn almost stunned Zhang Hu and the other 6. They never expected to see such a beautiful woman here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Counterattack. Brother Hu. That girl is so pretty. The man with a scar on his arm couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Although the other few people didn't say anything, from their eyes and expressions, it was enough to see how excited they were at the moment. Zhang Hu has been hanging around for many years, and he has to admit that this is the most beautiful woman he has ever seen, no worse than those female stars on TV. Open the door and let them in, Zhang Hu laughed. There is no reason for him to miss such a beautiful woman. A bald man walked quickly to the door and opened it for Lin Fan and Murengzu. Hurry. Let's go in. Lin Fan glanced at the zombies coming from the other side, pretending to be a little anxious and urged. Seeing this scene, Zhang Hu relaxed his vigilance. After Lin Fan and Murengzu walked into the office, the bald man closed the door tightly again. Murengzu is also a natural actor. When she entered the room and saw Zhang Hu and the other 6 people, a trace of fear appeared on her pretty face. She hid behind Lin Fan, which made people not suspect that she had any other purpose. Thank you, brothers. Lin Fan pretended to reach out and wipe the cold sweat from his forehead, and said, My name is Lin Fan. My sister and I have escaped from outside and have not seen anyone else all the way here. It's great to meet you now. Oh? She is your sister? Zhang Hu raised his eyebrows slightly. My sister, Lin Fan nodded. My sister is still young. When she encountered the doomsday, her emotions were a little wrong. I hope you brothers can forgive me for my impoliteness. Haha, don't worry, we won't be polite to her. Zhang Hu laughed and said, Little brother, it's the doomsday now. You escaped from outside, so you naturally know that there are zombies outside. It's not that easy to find a safe place. You want to stay here, no problem, but I have a condition that you must agree to before you can stay. Brother, what condition are you talking about? Lin Fan put on a curious look. We have been in prison for a long time and haven't tasted a woman for a long time. Let your sister come and serve us well, then you will be allowed to stay, Zhang Hu said with a wicked smile. Ha ha ha. As soon as Zhang Hu finished speaking, the other 5 people also laughed, and their evil eyes looked at Murengzu without concealing. You are too much. Lin Fan pretended to be angry and held the axe in his hand tightly. At worst, we won't stay. Sister, let's go. Want to leave? Zhang Hu laughed even more arrogantly. What do you think this place is? You can come and go as you please. Wouldn't it be embarrassing for me? Put down your weapon, or I will shoot you in the head right now. A bald man took out a pistol from his arms and pointed it at Lin Fan's head. Sure enough, there was a gun. Lin Fan understood it in his heart, and on the surface he obeyed obediently, throwing the axe and dagger in his hand to the ground. Then, the bald man walked up to Lin Fan with a sneer on his face, kicked the axe and dagger away. Come over here. At the same time, another bald man came to Murengzu and reached out to grab Murengzu's wrist. Let me go. Murengzu pretended to struggle. Girl, don't resist, maybe it will be better for you. The more you resist, the worse your fate will be. The bald man smiled obscenely and dragged Murengzu to Zhang Hu. Lin Fan, with a gun pointed at his head, walked to a table next to him. The bald man took out a rope and said with a grin, I'm going to tie you here and let you see with your own eyes how your sister is played by us. Lin Fan ignored the bald man's words and kept looking at Murengzu from the corner of his eyes. Murengzu was brought to Zhang Hu, and Zhang Hu stood up from the chair. His face with a scar pierced through it smiled brilliantly, and the evil fire in his body also burned to the extreme at this time. Since he was imprisoned in this prison, he has never enjoyed the taste of a woman again. Today, he will show his masculinity no matter what. Tell me, what is your name? Zhang Hu stretched out his hand towards Murengzu. Don't be afraid, you will feel very good in a while, and you will feel like you are in heaven. Murengzu naturally didn't want to be touched by Zhang Hu. She kept looking at Lin Fan from the corner of her eyes. She wanted to wait for Lin Fan to give a signal. Now, Lin Fan noticed that except for the bald man standing in front of him, Zhang Hu and his men focused their attention on Murengzu and completely relaxed their vigilance. After all, in their eyes, he would be tied up soon, and Murengzu was just a weak girl who had not experienced much of the world. How could she escape from their palms? Bang! When the bald man in front of him was about to tie him up with a rope, Lin Fan's eyes flashed with a fierce light, bent his knees and pushed hard against the bald man's crotch. The bald man's face turned purple in an instant, and he covered his crotch with his hands, screaming uncontrollably. Along with his screams, there seemed to be a sound of eggs breaking. No wonder he screamed so miserably. Lin Fan naturally didn't care how painful the bald man was. At the moment he bent his knees to attack the other party, he had already reached to his waist and pulled out Zhang Yuanzhang's pistol. Bang! Bang! Pulling the trigger, 2 consecutive gunshots. 2 bullets flew out from the dark muzzle and hit the other 2 bald men in a blink of an eye. Fuck. Dare to play dirty tricks on me, Zhang Hu was furious. He realized instantly that Lin Fan was deliberately playing tricks on him. Bang! Just as he was about to draw his gun to fight back, Murengzu raised her leg and kicked him in the crotch, causing him to kneel on the ground with a plop in pain. The 2 men who were still standing had just taken the pistols in their hands, and before they could even pull the trigger, 2 bullets had already flown and hit their chests. Their bodies fell directly to the ground and did not move. You are asking for death? Lin Fan took the snatched pistol, smiled faintly, and kicked out fiercely, knocking the bald man in front of him unconscious. After doing all this, Lin Fan walked towards Zhang Hu. Although Murengzu's strength was not as good as Lin Fan, the kick still made Zhang Hu's face turn pale and blue in pain, as if he was torn apart. Zhang Hu endured the pain, looked up at Lin Fan, and asked with sweat on his forehead, who are you? I am a normal person, but unfortunately, you are beasts. Lin Fan came in front of Zhang Hu, put the gun back to his waist, and said indifferently, answer my questions honestly, and I can give you a quick death. Otherwise, I will let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. Chapter 23 Heart-Piercing Pain. Haha, do you think I was scared? Zhang Hu suddenly smiled and said stubbornly, I tell you, since the day I got into the society, I have never been afraid of death. In his opinion, Lin Fan wanted to threaten him, that was absolutely impossible. Well, not bad, Lin Fan nodded, I admire your courage to not fear death. As he said, Lin Fan tilted his head and glanced at Murengzu, you go and call Wang Jianwei and the others to come over, and by the way, get rid of the remaining zombies outside. Okay, Murengzu nodded lightly, picked up Lin Fan's dagger, walked out of the office, and quickly killed the zombies outside. After Murengzu left the room, Fang Qianjin did not rush to deal with Zhang Hu, but first collected the guns of Zhang Hu and others and put them on the table. Of course, the bald men were also dealt with by him again, otherwise they would still become zombies and come back to life if they were not killed by a shot on the head. Are you sure you don't want to answer my question honestly? Lin Fan returned to Zhang Hu again and asked with a smile. Zhang Hu sneered again. Soon, Wang Jianwei, Zhang Yuanzhang and others came to this room. Lin Fan looked back at them, and Zhang Hu also looked over, and immediately saw Zhang Yuanzhang. So it's you, you bastard, Zhang Hu cursed. He was a prisoner, and Zhang Yuanzhang was a prison guard, so he naturally couldn't have a good impression of Zhang Yuanzhang. Zhang Yuanzhang clenched his fists and came to Zhang Hu angrily, a scum like you deserves to die 100 times. Zhang Yuanzhang knew very well how abominable the crimes Zhang Hu committed before his death were. With his upright character, if it weren't for his identity and the restrictions of the rules, he would have wanted to beat Zhang Hu up a long time ago. Haha, what's wrong with me being a scum? If I had known before I came in, I should have killed your family. Zhang Hu laughed wildly. Bang! Zhang Yuanzhang couldn't help but punch Zhang Hu in the face. Zhang Hu spat out a mouthful of blood, still laughing wildly. "Kill me if you can. Otherwise, I look down on you, let me do it," Lin Fan said suddenly. Then, he tore off a piece of clothing from a bald man and quickly wrapped it around Zhang Hu's mouth to block it. Zhang Hu subconsciously prepared to reach out to tear it off, but Lin Fan would not give him such a chance. He grabbed his collar and pulled him towards the table. Bang! Then, Lin Fan held down Zhang Hu's head and slammed it against the table, causing Zhang Hu to bleed. However, Lin Fan had a good grasp of the strength. Such a collision would only make Zhang Hu feel dizzy and painful, but would not make Zhang Hu faint. "I want to see how hard you are in the mouth." After the words fell, Lin Fan quickly grabbed one of Zhang Hu's hands and put it on the table, punching it. Crack! The sound of bones breaking spread. Under the blast of this punch, Zhang Hu's finger bones broke one after another. Although his mouth was blocked by the clothes, the intense pain still made Zhang Hu whimper. His eyes were full of tears, and his face, forehead, and back were already wet with sweat. Pain. Heart-piercing pain. It is said that the 10 fingers are connected to the heart. The bones of 5 fingers were broken, and Zhang Hu felt a kind of pain that was like dying. This scene was still a bit cruel to Murin Shan and Li Yun. Especially Zhou Jun, seeing Lin Fan's ruthless attack. His fear of Lin Fan deepened a lot. Of course, his hatred also deepened. He was worried that Lin Fan would treat him the same way. After 2 days, Wang Jia and Wei had completely adapted to the rules of the Doomsday, the law of the jungle. If they fell into the hands of Zhang Hu and others, their fate would definitely be even worse. Zhang Yuan's Hang was very relieved. People like Zhang Hu were the biggest danger to be alive. He even used heavy hands on many prisoners in prison before. What he remembered most clearly was that a prisoner was blinded by Zhang Hu in both eyes. As for Murin Zhu, perhaps because her body was evolving, her mentality had changed a lot. She was no longer a weak girl, but the kind of person who could adapt to the Doomsday the most. After breaking Zhang Hu's 5 fingers, Lin Fan did not intend to stop, and controlled Zhang Hu's other hand on the table. Bang! Another punch hit Zhang Hu's hand, and the 5 finger bones of Zhang Hu's hand were also broken. Zhang Hu was in so much pain that tears were streaming down his face, and his expression was as painful as it could be. "Can you answer the questions honestly now?" Lin Fan smiled faintly. "If not, then I will help you again." As he said that, Lin Fan glanced at Zhang Hu's feet. If Zhang Hu had no fear of Lin Fan just now, then now, he was really afraid of Lin Fan. He was not afraid of death, but he was afraid of Lin Fan's methods. This kind of pain was indeed worse than death. He was 100% sure that if he did not answer the questions honestly, Lin Fan would break the bones of both his feet. At that time, there might be more powerful methods waiting for him to endure. "What do you want to ask?" "As long as I know, I will tell you." Zhang Hu endured a severe pain and said weakly. "If you had done this earlier, you wouldn't have suffered just now." Lin Fan was very satisfied with Zhang Hu's attitude at this moment. He sat on the sofa next to him and asked, "When you came from Area D, what was the situation in Area D like?" "There were also many zombies in Area D. It was very chaotic at the time. We ran over in the chaos," Zhang Hu answered honestly. "Is there anyone alive in Area D?" Lin Fan asked. "Yes," Zhang Hu nodded and said with difficulty, "Chen Xianlong's group is still alive." "Chen Xianlong is actually alive." Zhang Yuan's Hang was a little moved. "Who is this person?" Lin Fan glanced at Zhang Yuan's Hang. "He is a real boss." Lin Fan nodded slightly, then looked at Zhang Hu again and asked, "Do Chen Xianlong and his group have guns?" "Yes." Zhang Hu swallowed his saliva. "Before we came here, they had already opened the room where the guns were stored in Area D, and they controlled all the guns in it." "How do these prisoners know this kind of problem?" Wang Jia and Wei was a little surprised. Zhang Yuan's Hang continued, "With Chen Xianlong's identity and status, it's not difficult to get such news from some prison guards. This is not surprising, so that's how it is." Wang Jia and Wei suddenly understood. "The last question, how many people are there with Chen Xianlong?" Lin Fan asked again. "I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely no less than 20, Zhang Hu replied. Bang! The moment Zhang Hu finished speaking, Lin Fan slapped Zhang Hu on the back of his head, knocking Zhang Hu unconscious. Chapter 24 Going to Area D alone. If what he said is true, then it will be very dangerous for us to go to Area D, Wang Jia and Wei sighed. In the situation just now, he didn't have the guts to tell a lie. Lin Fan narrowed his eyes, then looked at Zhang Yuan's Hang and asked, "Do you know the approximate number of guns stored in Area D?" There are quite a few. In addition to pistols, there are also submachine guns and sniper rifles. The most important thing is that there are a lot of bullets, Zhang Yuanzhang answered seriously. This prison is originally a key prison in Jiangnan City and even the entire province. These reserves are placed there for emergencies. Compared with pistols and submachine guns, Lin Fan is obviously more interested in sniper rifles. Although sniper rifles are not suitable for large-scale shooting, they are more accurate and powerful, and they are much more effective in killing evolved zombies. When the zombie tide comes, it is safer to hide in the prison. While avoiding the zombie tide, you can also observe whether there are any evolved zombies, or some zombies have the opportunity to carry attributes that can be picked up. In this way, they can use sniper rifles to kill zombies, and then pick up the attributes after the zombie tide passes. Lin Fan, the other side is now in large numbers, and everyone has a gun in their hands. They are also the kind that are not afraid of death. If we go to deal with them, we will have no advantage at all, Zhang Yuanzhang frowned and said. Yes, Xiafan, otherwise don't think about going to Area D first. We currently have sufficient food and water resources. Staying here in Area A is enough for us to survive the zombie tide, Wang Jianwei also spoke. It's not that they are afraid of death, but they think there is no need to compete with the people in Area D. I can go alone to deal with the people in Area D, Lin Fan smiled. You alone? Wang Jianwei and others were all shocked. Yes, Lin Fan nodded and said, I just checked. There are more than 30 bullets in the pistols here, which is enough to take down the people in Area D, Lin Fan, although we all know that you are very strong, it is too risky for you to deal with them alone. Why don't we take a long-term view? Murengzu frowned and said. No, I know what I'm doing. Lin Fan still had a smile on his face. With this amount of bullets, they won't survive. Murengzu wanted to persuade him again, but for some reason, seeing Lin Fan's confident look, she felt that Lin Fan was not joking, but was really sure. Go. It's better to die there, Zhou Jun thought secretly in his heart. In this team, the person he disliked the most was Lin Fan, and he wished that Lin Fan would die suddenly. I'll give you this pistol back. As for the bullets, you can load as many as you want after I take over Area D. Lin Fan's decision would not change. He walked in front of Zhang Yuanzhang and handed him the pistol. Zhang Yuanzhang took the pistol and took a deep breath. How about I go with you? Thank you for your kindness, but it would be better for me to go alone. Lin Fan reached out and patted Zhang Yuanzhang on the shoulder. In the next period of time, everyone should stay here and decide on the next action after the zombie tide is over. After speaking, Lin Fan walked back to the sofa and closed his eyes to rest. He would wait until the evening to go to Area D after all. At night, especially in the middle of the night, people are least alert. Even if Chen Xianlong arranges his men to guard, they will easily fall asleep and be absent-minded. Time passed quickly, and a few hours passed in the blink of an eye. It was late at night before Lin Fan stood up from the sofa. Do you really want to go alone? Murengzu walked in front of Lin Fan. Don't worry, I'm sure, you just wait for my good news here. Lin Fan smiled faintly. Okay, then you pay attention to safety, Murengzu nodded. Although she had only known Lin Fan for 2 days, she also roughly understood Lin Fan's character. She believed that Lin Fan would definitely come back safely. Wang Jianwei and others also gave 2 instructions. Lin Fan did not delay anymore. He took a pistol, a dagger and an axe and left the office. Before that, he had asked Zhang Yuanzhang about the construction of Area D. Zhang Yuanzhang also drew it for him. Then, from Area A to Area D, there was still an underground passage. The zombies in Area A had been cleared, and Lin Fan soon came to the underground passage. In this underground passage, there were zombies wandering from Area D. When these zombies heard the noise, they opened their mouths and rushed towards Lin Fan. Crack! Crack! Lin Fan swung his axe quickly and easily eliminated these zombies. These ordinary zombies, with a small number, could no longer pose a threat to Lin Fan. After walking through the underground passage, Lin Fan officially stepped into Area D. The area of Area D was not much different from Area A, except for the basement. The 2 floors were basically where prisoners were detained. Only on the far right of the 2nd floor was there a temporary prison guard lounge and a special room. And that special room was where the prison stored guns. Although the gun room was in Area D, in fact, it was the safest place to be honest. Not only was the door lock very advanced, but there were also prison guards holding submachine guns and taking turns to guard it 24 hours a day. If it weren't for the doomsday outbreak, Chen Xianlong and others would have no chance to get close to it. Lin Fan took a look when he came to the first floor from the passage stairs. There were not too many zombies wandering around, and some of them became zombies after being detained in the cells, and they didn't even have the chance to leave the cells. Of course, the most important thing is that many zombies have been dealt with by Chen Xianlong and others, and their bodies are lying on the ground. Lin Fan would not provoke those zombies out of boredom. He was ready to continue walking to the second floor, but he stopped before he took 2 steps. With his keen perception, Lin Fan noticed that there was movement above the stairs. After listening carefully, he could hear the faint breathing sound. Moreover, it was not one person, but 2 people. It is not necessary to guess that these 2 people should be the subordinates who were arranged to guard here. If they go up rashly, they will definitely be discovered by the other party. Once they open fire, the gunshot will attract the attention of Chen Xianlong and others. At this time, Lin Fan did not want to alert the other party. Let's try whether these 2 people will come down first. Lin Fan's eyes turned and he soon had an idea. He swept his eyes on the ground and soon saw a small thing. He walked over and kicked it lightly, and it immediately made a sound. This sound attracted the attention of some zombies, but it was not very obvious. Only a few scattered zombies came over, and they moved very slowly. There seems to be some noise downstairs. Do you want to go check it out? Let's go down together, otherwise if something happens, we won't be able to take the blame if Brother Long blames us. Lin Fan heard the 2 people guarding the staircase talking to each other. Then, from the sound of footsteps, he could tell that the 2 people were coming down from the second floor. Chapter 25 Shooting. Roar. The zombies on the first floor were still slowly approaching the stairs. The 2 guards walked down from the second floor, holding an iron pipe in one hand and a pistol in the other. At this time, Lin Fan had already hidden behind the outside of the stairs and did not move, not even making a sound. This caused the zombies to hear the footsteps of the 2 people and walk towards the stairs. So it's these things that made the noise. Let's just get rid of them. Otherwise, there might be other noises later. After the 2 came down, they saw the zombies walking towards the stairs. The man on the left couldn't help but sneer. Okay, then get rid of them. There are only a few of them, so it's easy to get rid of them. The man on the right nodded. They were the kind of people who were sentenced to death and waiting for execution before the doomsday. Such people have extraordinary psychological qualities. Therefore, after the doomsday, they can adapt quickly. Seeing the zombies approaching them, the 2 of them each held the iron pipe tightly and hit the zombies on the head. Bang! Bang! Several dull noises spread out, and the zombies' heads were smashed to pieces by the iron pipes, and they fell to the ground one after another. These ugly things, as long as they don't gather together in large numbers, are no match for us at all, the man on the left said triumphantly. Haha, that's right, the man on the right nodded and laughed. Wait until Brother Long arranges people to go out and find women tomorrow, and then we will have fun. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure immediately rushed out from behind the outside of the stairs, and came behind him in a blink of an eye. He stretched out his hand and waved it, and a white light flashed, and blood immediately appeared on his throat. Blood spurted out violently and sprayed on the wall next to him. His eyes widened, his face full of disbelief, and until the moment of his death, he didn't see clearly who did it. The man on the left was completely stunned when he saw this scene. Just as he reacted and wanted to draw his gun, a dagger flew out of his hand and pierced his heart at an extremely fast speed. With his mouth open, he could only make a small sound before falling to the ground and dying. Lin Fan smiled slightly. It was impossible for these 2 ordinary people to react to such a close attack. According to Zhang Hu, there should be at least 18 people here. After all, they only killed 2 people, and the rest were on the second floor. At this time, if nothing unexpected happened, those people were basically asleep. Lin Fan bent down to put away the guns on the 2 people and walked to the second floor. What he was going to face next was almost a tough battle. There was no other advantage. The only advantage was that he could get close to them while they were asleep. Since the zombies here were cleared by Chen Xianlong and others, there was no need to worry about attracting any zombies. The layout of the second floor was not much different from the first floor, except that there was a prison guard lounge and a storage room on the far right. Lin Fan could hear some people snoring, and they were obviously sleeping soundly. He quickly walked towards the storage room. There were many guns in the storage room. If he wanted to take down these people, he should first eliminate their weapons. As he guessed, At this time, Chen Xianlong and others were already asleep. In the prison guard lounge opposite the storage room, Lin Fan clearly saw 3 figures sleeping inside. Next to the pillow of one of them was a submachine gun. However, it is worth mentioning that these people may have thought that the entire D area was safe, and there were people guarding the stairs, so they were quite careless and did not even close the door when they slept. This undoubtedly gave Lin Fan a good opportunity. At least, it would not be so troublesome to deal with these 3 people, and there would be no need to make a big noise. Quietly entering the room, Lin Fan first came to the man who placed the submachine gun next to the pillow, took a dagger and stabbed it quickly into the heart of the man. The man's body just shook slightly, and then he lost his breath. And the slight shaking did not wake up the other 2. Soon, Lin Fan used the same method to deal with the second person. Until he was about to attack the third person, the other party didn't know whether he heard the noise or woke up suddenly, but opened his eyes at once. "Who are you?" A loud shout came out of the other person's mouth immediately, and then subconsciously prepared to take the gun next to the pillow. Lin Fan raised a sneer on his lips and rushed forward. When the other party just got the gun, the dagger had already stabbed out. The man's body also trembled, and he was out of breath in an instant. But his shouting woke up those who were sleeping. One by one, they got up and gathered together outside. "What's going on?" A muscular man frowned and asked. "Brother Long, it seems to come from the lounge," one person answered. Chen Xianlong frowned again and shouted 3 names at the lounge, but heard no response. Then he shouted the name of the person guarding the stairs, but there was no response. Many years of experience in the society told Chen Xianlong that something was wrong. "Hold the gun." Chen Xianlong immediately gave an order and took the lead in holding the pistol in his hand. Those men did not hesitate and picked up their guns one after another. "Leopard, you 3 go over and take a look, be careful." Chen Xianlong gave a look to the man next to him. The man called Leopard nodded and walked to the lounge with the other 2. This Leopard was Chen Xianlong's capable subordinate. He had been with Chen Xianlong since before he was imprisoned and helped Chen Xianlong do many things. Leopard and the other 2 walked slowly towards the lounge with guns in hand. During the time, they kept calling the names of the 3 people in the lounge, but still got no response. Leopard took a deep breath and waved to the 2 people beside him, motioning them to go ahead to check, and he followed behind. The 2 people didn't think much, and quickly stepped forward with guns. Just as they were about to approach the door of the lounge, a figure rolled out from the door. Bang! Bang! The moment the figure rolled out, there were also 2 gunshots. 2 bullets quickly passed through the air and hit the heads of the 2 people accurately, instantly blowing their heads off. Bang! 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 Before Leopard and Chen Xianlong and others could react, another series of bullet sounds were heard. Sparks continuously flew out of the muzzle of the submachine gun in Lin Fan's hand, and bullets flew towards Leopard, Chen Xianlong and others. Screams spread one after another. Lin Fan's marksmanship and reaction speed far exceeded those of ordinary people. His sudden rolling attack was undoubtedly a fatal sneak attack for Chen Xianlong and others. The most important thing was that the bullets of the submachine gun could keep up, and there was no problem at all. In a blink of an eye, only 2 or 3 of Chen Xianlong and others were left. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.